Yo, what's up? Welcome to another episode, another season of Speak Life right here on Gorilla Cross. I'm your host, Quan59, and I'm excited to be back. It's been way too long, but we are back with season 18 of Speak Life Radio. It's not 18 years, but it's season 18. I think we had 3 years where we had 2 seasons in 1 year, but it's still been a long time. I think it was 2008 that we started Speak Life, so we're here still, where everybody is a podcaster these days. But I got my co-host back in the building. He was here during the off season, helping out, hiding wires, helping rearrange the studio and everything. My man Joe Seif in the building. What's good?
What's up, y'all? What's up, y'all? Everything's good. Everything's good. Life in Vegas is good. That's a whole bunch of tired that never changes. You know how it goes.
So what did you do this summer?
Man, I've just been working. I've been working nonstop, man. The last 2 years has been hustle, but on the on the music front, I got an itch to completely tear apart my garage, and I rebuilt the studio like from the ground up. Changed record crates and got new equipment, new desk. MPC-1, SP404, MK, like the new SP404.
Okay.
Just lots of stuff, man. So yeah.
It's dope. I thought you were gonna say you're coming out with an album finally.
Nah. Look,
nothing like that.
Anybody that knows me knows that I have albums. I've got content. I just don't put it out, man. I make music for friends and family, man. If you know me, you'll probably get an MP3. That's about it. Yeah, I just don't put out projects.
It's all good. I got another guy who was here a lot with us. He submits music as he's a co-host on the show with us, but it better be a video today.
Man, I know how this works now.
Okay. I got my man PJ, I Am Light, in the building. What's good?
What's up?
How you been?
I've been good, man. Can't complain.
Yeah, you can.
I could complain
loud.
about all those combs and stuff on the way.
It's not
here.
biblical to complain, though. My pastor's going to tell you that in a little bit.
Wow, just throw me under the bus.
Hey, I'll say this though, man. I've seen you on social media, man. Like your stories and reels content. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. It looks good.
Thanks.
Like it looks really good. I appreciate the hustle. It's
Thanks,
dope.
man.
It's dope.
It don't stop, won't stop.
It's good. I like it.
All right, keep talking.
we're trying to get we're trying to get our vocals up.
Got you.
But no, I really liked so like the last video that you did where you said you did it what was it, like spur of the moment, and it was like where the guys came through and they just recorded that video with you.
All good.
All
good. I work with one of my brothers. His name is Willie. Mm-hmm. But he has like Whoview TV. Yeah, it's called Whoview TV. But I'll say it twice, just kidding. But yeah, he's just very talented. He just directs like, okay, this is what you want to do. He'll listen to the song and he'll just direct it. We did everything on the fly and put the video together in like a week.
All the stuff that I've been seeing like within the last 2 weeks on your feed is that it looked like stuff that you were recording here in town. So like it's not like you didn't travel out to California to do that. You're doing it here.
No, I'm doing all that here.
Wow.
I record at my own house, and then as far as like the videos and stuff,
yeah.
And I'm doing they're actually shooting a movie that we're working on with him. So it's that, and then it's my music, and then we're gearing up to shoot another video, like this coming up week. But he's so talented. He's like puts it together. Like we record something in 3 days, and it'll be done in like the following week. Like, wow, it's crazy.
Dope.
That's hustle.
It's crazy.
Well, if you keep talking, I'm going to have to charge you for the interview. We have another special guest in the building. I'm not sure if he's ever been on the show. I was thinking about this earlier. I know he's been in the studio during the show before a long time ago, but I'm not sure if he has. It's been a very long time.
And tuned in a lot.
But he's never on the show, so I never go to his church. So we're kind of even. But I got my pastor in the building.
I don't know if you can say my pastor.
He's my pastor. I watch it online, but I got Danny Hand in the building, pastor, and we're going to talk about his story in a little bit, what he's doing right now. Me and Joe Seif talk about this a lot, about all the pastors we've had recently in the past 10 years probably have been pastors that actually work.
Yes.
And have jobs as well as being a pastor. You know, not everybody could be Mike Todd and be super famous. But we're going to talk about what he's doing because he's, he had his own cleaning company and different things like that. But now he's on a whole new journey, which is crazy. Like when I first saw it, I was like, this is not going to last. He's, midlife crisis type stuff. But he's in it. He's in it. And I'm excited to talk to him and have him share the story of what he's doing right now, because I think it's amazing what he's doing. So we're going to get into that as well. But how you doing, first of all? I didn't even say I didn't even ask how you're doing.
I appreciate that, Quan. It's great to see you, one of my most faithful members at Gateway City Church Las Vegas. Online. Yeah, on the replay.
Well, here's no, I watch it live sometimes.
Your mama, you do.
No, I do. I was watching it live this Sunday, but I didn't have the captions.
Stand by. Let me give the real.
They did the
real is
combination.
Every Super Bowl that the 49ers are there, he'll come in on Sunday morning for some prayer.
I was going to go the next week, but the prayer didn't work.
Yeah. Oh, man, here you
The prayer didn't work. They prayed for the 49ers to win, and it didn't work. So I'm like, I'm not sure about this church. Should have went to a bigger, mega church or something. Exactly. But no, I do watch online a lot. But it's weird. I mean, why would you have church during football games?
Yeah, we're going to get you saved in the middle of your
because the real
Speak Life
Sabbath
show.
is Saturdays. I read that in the book.
Yeah, God bless you.
Man.
My BIH.
Same arguments when he was 15. He's with his youth pastor. He's doing it at 55.
Oh, man. I'm loving this.
All right, but we're gonna talk a lot to him. We have a very special guest live on the line right now. He's coming out with a new project. I don't think it's out yet, right? I think it comes out this Friday, I believe, on the 1st. But I got my man. He's one of my favorite artists, so I had to kick off the season with him. I think this is the second or third time he's actually kicked off a season right here on Speak Life. But I got the man, the myth, the legend, the MC, the what else is he? He's a singer. He's an R&B star. My man Jered Sanders live on the line. Jered, what's good?
Big up.
Good, man. It's good.
Chillin', man. How you feeling? How's this new 2024? I know you've taken some time off music, but recently you've started dropping a lot and just putting that content out. So tell us about the year and just what was that like to be able to rest and not do anything for a while and then go ahead and start dropping music again.
It sucked. No, I'm kidding. It was cool. I can't. I wouldn't say it was voluntary. Like, it was kind of like spiritual. I felt like God was like, sit down, shut up for a little while. And so that's what I decided to do. And, so it took some time of silence and, finally being able to get back outside. It's kind of cool, man. I'm really excited for what's to come, for sure.
Now, what's that like? As a Christian, it's a lot different when God tells you something like that and you hear that, you feel that, right? What's that like when you don't want to stop? Like, how do you obey that and be obedient in that?
Very begrudgingly. I hated it. Like, I'm complaining the whole time, like, why can't you just let me rap? And I just couldn't come up with anything. I couldn't write anything. Like, it was a very interesting experience, man, because I'm used to being able to, just put words together when I'm feeling a type of way or something like that. And I couldn't come up with nothing, man. I had nothing. So it sucked at first, but, I went kicking and screaming, but finally I got the green light. So we back.
Man, dude. So I have a quick question. So like when you feel like God is telling you, because obviously anybody who's creative, we love our passion, especially when it comes to writing. I feel like most of the time for a rapper, you want to write rhymes, but sometimes you like to just write. Were you just unable to write, like put together rhymes? Were you still journaling, like what it was that you were going through, or how did that work?
Yeah. I'm a writer by nature. So I was definitely writing. I just wasn't writing music.
It's tough.
I don't know. I just couldn't do it. Like, nothing was flowing. And I felt like I had stored a bunch of beats up, like maybe one of these days I'll catch fire, and it just never happened, man. So But I think it was more opportunity for me to just kind of steward what I had, and my family, my wife, and my kids, and because 4 years ago, my 6-year-old son was 2. My daughter was 4. So that was a lot more formative years for them. So I had to kind of settle down and process life a little bit differently then.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. So I'm sorry,
No,
I'm not
go
trying
ahead.
like is music isn't the 9 to 5, or the creativity isn't the 9 to 5, or is it?
It was. It's not anymore. But I think that was for like the best, because when I decided to go full time, it was just before COVID, right?
Mhm.
So I'm busting through the sales, like, let's go, let's be free, let's be full time, and then, COVID. So that kind of slowed things down. I ended up, really having to settle down and humble myself quite a bit. But it was for the best. I think I went in hastily to going full time 4 years ago. I just kind of told my wife, I was like, hey, I can't do this no more. I'm going full time. And that was a terrible decision. And I was
Jered, how did she handle that? Because I've had a lot of friends, in music that did that, and
Right.
some of their wives didn't handle it good. Some of their wives didn't agree on that, and they still didn't anyway. So, what was that conversation like, and how did she handle that when you went full time?
It sucked. No, but I'll say that I think a lot of things were going really well. They were trending in the direction that opportunities were about to open. But nobody was living their lives like the country was going to get shut down.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
so I was like, oh man, shows and this and tour and merch and and then COVID came and it forced everybody to change their entire lives. So I tell a joke, and sometimes I feel like me jumping out, like doing that, going full time the way I did, I feel like God was like, all right, here's the Wuhan China virus. Like, here it is. Yeah, you just gotta deal with it now. Like it, and I felt like I was responsible for all of America. You know what I'm saying? Like for real, I felt like COVID came because I did not consider my wife.
Wow.
Appreciate it.
So I apologize
Thanks a lot.
to everybody.
It's all
Like, I
your
really
fault.
do.
Appreciate that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I just had a quick question too. I just wanted to dial it back to where you're saying you felt empty, like you didn't have nothing to say. What do you do in those times when you feel that way?
Do something other than music. Like real talk, I'm a big advocate for, like, you have nothing to rap about if you're not living. And so for me, it was a lot of like, in the positive, it was a lot of walks around the neighborhood with the kids, and the wife, and in the negative, it was like frustrations and arguments. Why did you go full time? You know what I'm saying? And like, then it turns into like, God, I don't feel like hearing you tell me that I made the wrong decision. So you go through those periods of isolation. So it was a lot of different factors, but I felt like that was the time for me to shut up though. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't time for me to try to talk and try to wrap it out. It was time for me to just be quiet. And so that's what I did. Like, and I think that all things work together, right? So it worked out, but man, going through it, like I don't want to hear no, positive platitudes when you're in the middle of that period where you gotta be quiet.
Yeah.
This is talking from me. I put out like 10 projects in like 5 years. And then God was like, nope. What am I gonna do? Like I'm sitting up here miserable. Like what am I gonna do?
All right, I want to get into the full-time thing again. What advice would you give to artists? Because I see it all the time on social media, and not just as far as rapping, but just any kind of artist, whether it be a photographer, a videographer. They jump in and say, I'm going full-time ministry. I'm full-time ministry. And my pastor and Pastor Larry Hand would always say it's not a full-time job if you're not making full-time money. So what would your advice be to people that want to jump in head first?
Wow, that'll
I'm gonna tell you what God told me, and I just misinterpreted what he said. He told me to steward.
Wait, Christians misinterpret what God says?
There you go.
Yeah, like I felt God saying steward well, were the words that I was given. And, I'm like, yeah, obviously you got these shows, make sure this money is right, make sure. And, and we tend to do that in our interpretation of God. Like we put him through the lens of our own understanding, which the scripture consistently points us away from doing, like to not lean on our understanding.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, all right, God, steward well while I jumped out here, full time. All right, bet. And what it really was the stewardship portion that God was really pushing me to understand is like after you stop doing music, like you still have a wife, you still have children, you still have a household that you have to steward over. You still have, a group of people that are depending upon you to make wise and prudent decisions. So you have to make it your priority to steward those things well. So I would say that to anybody that thinks that they're going full time, first of all, that's cap. Because I don't care how busy anybody is, nobody is that busy.
Yeah.
Like I don't care what nobody is that busy that you're only doing work like all the time. That's not the case. So what I would say to them is, if you weren't doing it full time, could you still do it? That's the first question. If you weren't doing it full time, could you still do it? Would you feel like a failure if you weren't? What part of your heart is attached to this dream? And how important is it for you to fulfill that by, absolving yourself of any of the other responsibilities, relieving yourself of any of those other responsibilities? I personally think that if you really pull the onion back or peel the layers back, most people don't have to go full-time ministry. They don't, I know that's an unpopular phrase, but they don't. You have other trades, you have other skills, you have other things that you could do, that you could utilize. Maybe you don't, maybe you increase the opportunities that you may have doing some full-time music or something like that, or ministry, but that doesn't mean you completely eliminate everything else. I think it really has to be, if that's what you're going to do, I genuinely believe it's got to be a call from God or it's going to suck.
Right.
That reminds me of the scripture. Some people will take that. I feel like God fulfills the wants of the heart. God will give you the things that you're asking for, the desires that you want. God's going to give it to you, and you obviously desiring to do this full time. So therefore, it must be God. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that misinterpretation happens a lot, and not specifically with creativity, because obviously everybody here in some way, shape, or form is involved in music, or some sort of creativity, right? It's something that we have a passion for. But I feel like, what do you think the time you spent basically in the belly of the whale, like, God, I can't do anything, or I have to just, okay, I'm waiting to see what you say. Do you feel like, what was it that he was trying to grow you in? Because I know there's no way you could have waited that long and not came out on the other side like, oh, this is why. Not like, because the music, I heard some of your project beforehand, like, and I'm just like, wow, this guy's fire. The music is a byproduct of it. Like, what happened other than the music when you came out of it? Like, okay, God, you grew me here, you stretched me here, you tested me here, and I came through. Like, what? Those are the things I want to know about.
Yeah, I had to learn in this season. I learned who Jered was outside of what he does. And that is the existential question that everybody's got to answer. Like, who are you outside of what you do? And the things that I learned is that I'm inquisitive. I like reading. I like writing. I love the sound of like my kids' laughter, like these things are so much more valuable than things that I could, put some headphones on and record to. Like I learned that like my family is the most important thing in my life outside of my relationship with God. And I learned that my motivation for doing it, if it doesn't have them in the picture, then the motivation is flawed. There has to be a connection. So whatever it is that I end up doing or deciding to do, they have to be a part of that decision. And I realized in that season that I was really, really selfish. And it was a selfish thought process to say that,
full time.
I want to go full time. It's like, okay, well, what does that come with? Did you ask your kids? Did you sit them down? And did you sit down and ask your wife? And before all of that, like, did you actually have a real heart to heart with God? Or did you just not want him to say no? So you just did.
That's deep.
Like,
You're talking to people, man.
So those are the kinds of things that I learned in that period. So it was silence, but it wasn't quiet. Like, and so I think that's a way to look at it.
PD, I want you to talk a little bit about that jumping in full-time ministry, and
Mr. Sanders is hitting some bars right there.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah.
Hey, first of all, so I commend you. I'm really impressed with what I'm hearing. I haven't met him before, but my first ministry is to the Lord, my wife of 31 years.
31?
Yeah, my children, my 4 grandchildren. And this is just a heavy topic because it resonates within my heart, because a lot of times in ministry, I'm a 3rd-generation pastor. We're ministering, but we're feeling a deficiency, like we haven't arrived, because whether we realize it or not, we've created an image of what we think that should be. I liken that to my son's dream. My dream, first of all, was to become a baseball player. I was pretty decent. My son surpassed me, gets drafted by the New York Mets, not once, but twice. And so you think, oh, I got there, but then you don't realize, oh, you got to do something maybe called the minors, or then an injury happens. And so therefore you've given 10, 12 years to this goal. You got the 2 plaques in your room of being drafted, and then you blow out a shoulder and you literally don't have a baseball career. And unfortunately, you leave there feeling a little bit depleted, like I didn't make it. Why? Because of that image as a child of playing in the big leagues in front of 50,000 people. And I liken that to sometimes ministry. My pastor told me today, and it's important at whatever age you are that you still have mentors. You can either learn by mentors or mistakes. So it's important that you constantly put yourself around people that are teaching you. And he said, bigger is not always
learn
better.
by mentors or mistakes.
That's good.
That's good.
And so he reminded me and the team, hey, bigger's not always better. And not to get on a Debbie Downer, but there's a lot of ministries right now where there's some exposure of some moral failures again, and it's heartbreaking. And so I just commend young men like this who are pursuing ministry. And I think we have to kind of repent sometimes of that image that we unmistakably grab onto. I remember when I met 7 years ago, he had attained a lot of success. And his desire was to get away from it because that so-called success was adding a lot of temptation. And he was trying to decrease and get away because he wanted his private life to match up with his public life. And he was struggling. So it's a weird wrestling in a tension. So I've had to learn in this season, being a minister for 30-something years, that I'm first grading, how's my personal walk with Jesus? Secondly, my wife will speak well, if she's speaking well, of how ministry's going, how our relationship's going. Secondly, what are our children saying? That's the ministry that I think we need to get attracted to. And then everything else, as we minister to the world, even in the assignment of when the Holy Spirit fell, first Judea, then Samaria, then the uttermost parts of the world. We forget sometimes the home front. And we got to take care of the home front, and then this blast it to the world. So I think all of us, whether you desire to be a rapper, you should be able to rap to 5.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, we won't, because pastors don't like to preach to 20.
Yeah.
Because
that's good right there.
Here's the honesty. Here's the honesty. Sometimes I have to go home, and I pastor combined between English and Spanish church about 200 people, and that's been
201.
Yeah, your mama. that's kind of been my, like, I have been called to seemingly a few hundred.
Yeah.
And it's been that way my whole ministry. If I posture myself with like, man, what am I doing? I go to conferences. Hey, they'll even say at conferences, if your church is only a couple hundred people, you suck and you're not doing something right. Your church should grow. And so you can even leave these conferences that you paid money to go to get inspired to create vision. And let's be honest, a lot of times we get our influence on the 1%ers of the mega churches who, I don't want to knock them, they're doing a great job. Sometimes I'm honest, I'd love to have that opportunity. But the truth is I don't have that capacity.
Yeah.
And that's just not my capacity. But I hope their marriage is as good as mine, because my marriage is a good marriage. And sometimes their ministry is better than their marriage. So I'd rather be guilty. I'd rather be guilty of making sure my life, my ministry that God's called me to, God's dream that he called me to, is succeeding than the public one. So you can get me on this one. But sir, I really appreciate what you're saying, and thank you for your heart. Stay the course, sir.
For sure.
Man, there was a lot of wisdom to unpack on that. And what I want to say is this. So like, I really enjoy the idea of how, hey, I'm going to go into this full time. Then COVID hit. And then you realize like, oh man, like I didn't have the conversation with my wife. And then like how PD was saying, like, you have an idea of what a ministry is, and then you're resolved. Like, well, my ministry has been anywhere between 100 to 200 the entire length of the ministry. You know what I'm saying? And this is 3 generations deep. The thing that I'm hearing in both is there's an idea, and then there's an understanding of, okay, the grandiose was like, that's my heart, but God's gonna guide the steps, and so you have to decide on which one you're gonna be. And it sounds to me like I love the fact that you're saying, I had to steward my time, and my time with my family is what I learned. And I feel like the product that I heard, like the project that I heard, that is the byproduct of you being obedient, just like the salvations are the byproduct of you being obedient to what it is. Like, I'm a man of God that listened to what God said. It hurt, but I listened.
Yeah.
Like that we need more of that. Like, we need more artists that are doing music to resonate with that.
Yeah.
I feel that's just my own personal opinion.
And I agree with that because, if God can trust you with a little, then he can give you more. Maybe he'll set you down for a little while so he can build up your ministry at home, because you don't want to lose them and then gain this crowd that, I'm not saying they don't mean anything, but this right here means the most with your family. I have 5 kids, so I felt that when he was saying like, hey, my ministry starts at home. I've been with my wife like going on 17 years. So, and 5 children. So I know what that feels like when you're trying to create and you got the kids knocking, trying to get your attention, and you just, that's what counts. This right here, this is God's gift for us. It's like, how Jesus was like, I become all things to all men so I can preach to them. Like, I feel like rap is just a segue to talk to a certain type of crowd. You know what I mean? It's just a segue. So you're a minister. So if you're ministering, you're building the music, but if your foundation at home is solid, you could do whatever I feel like you can move however you want, and then come home and then recharge. So yeah, I commend you for that.
I entertained, what I really started to entertain, and this is where I was at peace. Like, am I cool if I don't ever rap again? Right. And it got to the point in that time off where I was like, yeah, like, I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm cool. And I didn't think that I would ever be there. Like, but ultimately it's because, for one, there are people that are going to look at me and what I've accomplished in my career, and I'm the end game. I'm the bucket list item for them. And when I think about that, I then look around, and the only reason why there are times where I could possibly feel displeased is because I start looking at what somebody else has. Like, and it's like, listen, I'm from, I grew up in a city that is, at least in high school, that was predominantly, racist Confederate America, right? And so for a person to come from that, to have traveled the country and been on publications that are major hip hop publications and rapped about Jesus and the world. You know what I'm saying? And been able to travel all over the country and across the world to do that. Like, that is completely unbelievable. So the fact that I was dissatisfied, it only came from the fact that I was comparing it to what somebody else was doing. And I was telling God, like, listen, if what I'm trying to pursue is gonna take me away from being what you need for me to be, like, I'll dead this. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's over. Like, and I told my wife this. I said, if I ever had to choose between music and my family, music is clipped.
Yeah.
Like, it's over with. Like, I'll never rap again. Like, I won't listen to rap beats if it's between y'all and this. Like, and there was a time where I know she would have never believed that. But I do believe that at this point in our marriage, after this time of really taking some time off, I do believe that, like, she knows that I did it all. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's over with. And so, man, I'm thankful because I see the finish line, right? Like, there was a time where in my, you know, prior to this silence, I was like, yo, I'm a rap this, and I'm gonna be this, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this. Like, yo, listen, first of all, I don't even like rap that much no more. So if I'm gonna keep it real,
you're on the right show.
I'm ready for the music to be, like, done with anyway. Yeah. Like I told my I don't even listen to rap outside of, like, making it. I don't even listen to it. I listen to rain sounds. I listen to, like, running water. I listen to, like, white noise. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even listen to, like, rap. So I can tell that the affections of my heart are not for rap anymore. Like, it's a method through which I'll communicate a message, but it's definitely not, like, something that I'm desperate to only be able to communicate through that medium. Yeah. That's over with.
You know what I've noticed is, especially with a lot of the, what I would consider some of the pillars and the greats, the people that we've interviewed on this show, the people that really, really, like, are really, really good at their craft. You're at a point where they're at. You're saying the same things that they're saying. They're like, I'm at a point now where, like, if God wanted the music to be gone, I don't care. It's gone. Like, my focus is this. And I don't even, like, it. I don't listen to a lot of the stuff that's coming out to stay relevant. I listen to the stuff that's, like, that ministers to me. You know what I'm saying? Right. So, like, I feel like you're in that vein, that same vein that a lot of people who, like, when you're really doing it for the sake of it, good, you're there. And with that being said, the question that I have for you is this. On this project, I'm not going to put you on the spot and ask, like, is this the best work you feel like you've ever done? But what is the best work on this project that you're like, if I wanted to tell anybody, hey, check out my new project, this, you listen to this track, this is it. This tells you all. Like, which one would that be?
Certain tracks have grown on me. So, you know, I'll answer that, but I'll tell you why. So in this time of absence, I started writing again after all this absence on May the 22nd of last year. I finished writing. Wow. I put the pen down December the 22nd of last year. That's in that 7-month span, I wrote and recorded 65 records. Whoa. Like, in that time. So
you took that time off and then just
came
overwhelmed us with more.
It was like 7. So
overlooking.
But one that is actually starting to resonate with me more is a song called The Breakup. And really it is me basically saying, like, I'm not feeling the same about hip hop anymore. Like, it's just like, all right, if you're looking for bars and all of that, it's probably sounds a little bit more lament than anything. But it's like, I'm cool. And so if there was anything to kind of, communicate the direction for the subsequent projects that'll come out this year, like the breakup kind of sets the table. It's like, all right, I don't feel like hip hop loves me anymore. I don't really love hip hop either. Like we're kind of at this space where we've had our fun. That juncture is over with. Let's kind of move on. So, but I do think that's a good I think that's my favorite song on the project now.
All right, well, we're gonna get into that song. It is called "The Breakup." We're gonna play that right here. Can we play that?
Yeah.
I know the project's not out yet, but we're gonna play.
So we got
they're gonna get it Friday regardless.
Yeah, they're getting it Friday. We're gonna play that. It's called "The Breakup" right here on Speak Life. We're live with Jered Sanders. We will be right back.
Yeah. You love me still? Cause real talk, I don't love you no more. Just keep it real. Do you really even love me anymore? Still. Real talk, I don't love you no more, girl. I'ma keep it real. Dear hip hop.
I see the world without.
Super clip.
Yeah. For real? Yeah. Hey, yo. Man, you can't tell me that you love me, girl. I spend my money just to make you proud. I gave you all my heart and then you give me baby crowds. You fill my head with all these dreams of how we make them bounce, but don't reciprocate. Checking all my bank accounts like where the money that you promised I make amounts larger than a safe account. But I don't see it, baby. I've been truly faithful. How you expect for me to think I'm safe when you don't pay me clout? You finna make me bounce. And dear hip hop, you owe me nothing, honestly. On the real, I think about you often, but it's not like how we started at the lunch tables. Wasn't really money on the line, knuckles on the counter, but it lit a spark in me to rhyme for you. And man, I do it for the free and make the time for you. And started rhyming over beats, and I was trying for you. And I was trying to be a beast and pin the lines for you. And tried to shine, it was 50 in the tape deck, and jigger all the time. The LeBron of rhyme, I was trying to be a young phenomenon. Esco and Biggie was the benchmarks. Then Lou and Kanye came through, and that's when I was trying to keep the pen sharp, for real. Dear hip hop, do you love me anymore? Cause I don't feel the same. Hey yo, I used to love you more than anything. It wasn't common for me to walk with anybody else inside the Walkman. When I was riding, I was only rocking with you talking. Any other talk was garbage. You had me thinking I'd rearrange the closet. Couple pair of Timbs so I'd be fly when I was walking. And double sole baggy for the denim I was ballin'. And back in college, always rocked the extra long tee when I was ATL stomping. Couple knots up in the wallet, but not from pen and paper. But what other rappers told me I should do to entertain you on the radio. Started selling trees so I relate to you more. But now I grew up in the youngest talking bangers galore. I got some little ones and I don't let them listen to you. I don't let them watch you either. I don't let them get into you. It's kinda crazy how with all this reminiscing through you, you keep it honest, you don't probably even listen, do you? That's why I'm falling out of love if I'ma keep it real. You been acting funny like it's Key and Peele. Thought that I would see a meal. Probably should've checked the fine print when I agreed to deal. That's why I'm over this and leaving still. Yeah. You love me still? Cause real talk, I don't love you no more. Just keep it real. Do you really even love me anymore? Still.
Jered Sanders, The Breakup off Talk to Be Nice. It comes out Friday. Make sure you guys go and pick that up. Really dope track right there. If you're watching live, please let us know where you're tuned in from. State your name, city, and state, and we will give you a shout out. We appreciate everyone for tuning in. Please share the live video stream with your people. We are live with Jered Sanders. Bars right there, bro. Oh, hold on. I got you on mute. My bad. Go ahead.
I appreciate it, dog.
Yes, sir.
Man, we appreciate that. I appreciate that track, man. There was just way too much good stuff spoken.
Smoking? What are you smoking?
I feel like that is the position that a lot of people are starting to take with the genre, not just in like just hip hop. Now, I'm not trying to like Christian hip hop, secular hip hop, like experimental, new, whatever, like hip hop. I see a lot of my feeds, a lot of the old heads that I came up with. They're putting together reels and just coming out with verses because I feel like they're like, yo, what happened to the culture is not what it was when we were doing it.
Yeah.
So I'm here to revive it. You feel me? And I feel like that's the stance a lot of people are starting to take. Like hip hop, I'm kind of like, with you.
Yeah, I could tell that
And
song.
don't get me
came
wrong.
from-
Don't get me wrong. I think the best way to break it down is like 20 years ago, right? If you said you were a rapper, it wasn't really like you didn't get to say you were a rapper until you could actually prove that you could rap, right? So there was a time where, you know, there was a path to mastery. Like you wanted to be good at it, right? And so you wanted to make sure that what you said had some oomph behind it, right? You wanted to make sure that it had something of substance. Whereas, you know, now everybody's a rapper.
Yeah.
Everybody's a rapper. So there's the value in the skill set. It's like at the margins, you know, you still have people that care, right? You have people on the extremes that are like, oh yeah, they're committed to being excellent at what they say and being intentional about what they say. But now what's happening is like in the median, like in the middle, like everything is like so bland, right? That it's so redundant that now the spark of being able to say that you rap isn't there anymore.
Yeah.
Like because the effort that it took to even wear that particular title proudly is just not there anymore. And salute to them, because I think that what's happening with a lot of the new guys is they're more business savvy than a lot of the guys that wanted to be great rappers. So a lot of 20 years ago, there were great rappers who were terrible business savvy. Now you have guys that are terrible rappers, but wonderful business savvy. They know how to be a brand and to market their product.
Well, no, I know a lot of popular rappers from back in the day that don't have rights to their music. We couldn't even play it on their own podcast. We couldn't play their own music from back in the day because they still don't own the publishing, and they're still trying to deal with that 25 years later.
Man.
Right. So the business element is where they lack. So they're walking around with trophies that nobody cares about anymore. Like, so it's like going through your school hallway and seeing like that state championship from like back when you were in school. Like now the kids, they don't care about that. It's like, cool. So you did that a long time ago. Awesome. Like, but what about this though? And so for me, I from afar, I'm like, hey man, salute to the savvy that you've acquired over this time. You're understanding how to market yourself and brand yourself. It doesn't resonate with me. Like I'm a couple years away from being 40. So
young.
I don't resonate.
Watch it,
you know what I'm saying? But I don't resonate with it. I don't resonate with nothing that most early 20 somethings are even talking about.
Yes.
Isn't it so crazy how fast that happens though, Jered?
Yeah. And now I think having children, like now I care way more about what somebody is saying because now I have small children.
Wow.
Like, and so it was a time where, you know, when you're the small child, it's like, oh man, I just want to listen to what sounds cool.
Yeah.
Like, but when you become the steward over somebody who's small, it's like, oh no, we ain't letting them seeds get planted in your head yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, you're gonna have to choose that on your own later on in life, not here.
No Ice Spice for them, right?
Ain't it funny how that happens though?
Yeah.
I mean,
we listened to everything back then. Yeah.
Man.
If I can say
it's cyclical though. Like it's cyclical because what's going to happen is these young people are going to become older.
Yeah.
And then they're going to have values that eventually, I mean, so long as like certain ideologies don't creep into the households, to extreme, like as people get older, age tends to lean people into conservative values.
Hopefully.
Like it tends to. Now, granted, this is a whole different population of people now that's coming up.
We live in a different world now where
it's indoctrinated.
Yeah, it's happening less and less.
Yeah. So the hope is that, if you steward well, you know what I'm saying? Like you'll end up having responsible human beings that'll care about the things that they say and the words that they allow people to speak over them. So in this time, it's my job to steward them until they could, really move for themselves.
What were we gonna say?
Yeah, what I appreciate, sir, is not knowing much about music or hip hop. Although I am the best rapper around this table, guaranteed. I got skills for reals like orange pills. But I appreciate what you're saying because I see and hear a purification of motives, and I think sometimes as a guy who's third generation pastor, everyone now is a pastor. Everyone's a prophet. Everyone has technology to have a voice. But it doesn't mean their life's living up to it. So everyone now can release a song. So I really, really appreciate the character that I hear coming out of you because that's what's needed as role models. And I just pray as I feel like there's been a refining fire that the Lord has taken you through. And I don't want to put this as a cliche for everybody, like you almost got to die and let that thing go. And then the Lord will raise you up because we hear those sermons all the time. But I really feel you're at your best where you're at. And I will say this, for example, this last Sunday we had a combined service, and for the first time in my adult life, I'm working nights. So by the time I show up Sunday morning, it's like holy cow, we're here on 30 hours and being awake, and I had no responsibility in the ministry of that particular day, and I was so ministered to because God's raising up people to do the ministry, which is our job as pastors and leaders, and it was so rewarding to go home feeling ministered to. And just being able to sit and watch God. And so it takes maturity where when I was younger, I'd be like, man, if I'm not a part of this, man, it's probably not going to be as hot. Yeah. But it takes time to realize actually elevating and pushing and let other people do the stuff is really where it's at. So I'm proud of what God's doing in your heart, man. It means a lot to hear what you're saying.
Praise God.
I have a question about the project. So as far as production goes, because I always ask these questions whenever I'm talking with somebody about the new project. What does the production process look like for as far as the beat making? Do you produce your own? What equipment do you use? Who do you work with for your production? How does the recording process go? Those are my favorite questions to ask.
So this year was also learning how to do things myself. So there was a lot of learning because for the last several projects that I've done, I worked with one engineer. I used to pay for the studio time, go to the studio, record, do the whole project. We had a great little workflow. And, I think COVID changed things quite a bit. But one way that it did, and this is why I always believe, all things work together. So 4 years ago, when we did the GOM tour, Selah happened to be like, hey, bro, I got this interface. You could have it. And I wasn't trying to record. I wasn't thinking of recording. He just was like, hey, I got this interface. You could just have it. And he just had an interface in his bag and he just gave it to me. And mind you, this interface, it kind of just sat in the crib for like a year or two. Like it just was there. But I had one. And then, my wife got the genius idea. She was like, I want to do a podcast. I would love to do a marriage podcast. Keep this in mind. We really weren't liking each other at this time.
It's the best time to start a marriage podcast.
That's it.
She went on ahead and copped microphones and, you know what I'm saying? And I had this interface. I was like, all right, let's see how it goes. So she learned how to use GarageBand first. You know what I'm saying? Like she was like, oh yeah, I figured this out. And, she was pretty, she was piecemealing it together and trying to figure it out. And we started trying to do some podcast episodes and it just failed because we still didn't like each other enough. So what ended up happening is the microphones were just sitting there. The interface was just sitting there. And I finally started writing again, right around May. And I said, Okay, so I'm not about to just pay for studio time, and I don't even know if I really feel like rapping anymore. So I went downstairs, turned on the laptop, opened GarageBand, and started recording. And it just happened. Like I was like, oh, so I think I kind of like how this sounds. Oh, what's that preset do? What does delay do? What does this do? So figuring these things out as I went. So that 65 records would have never got made if I had to buy the studio time.
That's
time,
impressive.
Right? Like, so being in the studio, learning as I went, helped me acquire that particular skill set. But it also prepared me to do more video editing. It also prepared me to do more when I want to start doing, I do like every single Monday for like the last almost year now, I've done something for our youth called Misfit Moments, where I would do like a 5-minute audio, blurb sermonette that they would get every Monday morning. That's awesome. Practicing in the studio helped me to do that.
Yeah.
And then working on that, I worked on my phone. I was like, oh, video presentation. Oh, worked on to do that.
So I learned a lot.
It all ended up coming together from just doing the work. I had no idea what I was doing, and then I figured it out.
Yeah.
So the creative process just happened to go that way because I just went downstairs by happenstance and started doing it. And so I work with other producers. I don't make my own beats, but the process of recording was very, hey, we're here now. Let's figure it out.
That's
yeah.
But it's funny, you have to start figuring things out yourself. Everything I built right now with the studio is off me rapping and going to studios, and then they were charging a lot of money, so I had to figure out how to make our own beats and then figure out how to record ourselves to practice. So when we went to the studio, we didn't spend so much time in there rapping, and then we had to ask this dude to make flyers or this person to make flyers. And so learn how to make our own flyers, learn how to do everything. And then it just becomes a business, and you quit rapping and you have other things you could actually start doing.
I got to cut in. Mr. Sanders, have you ever heard Quan rap before?
He's going to tell the story of my very last performance.
Listen, I'm going to keep it a bean. Like, I've never heard him rap, but he strikes me as a person.
Let me give you a visual, sir. And I know I'm in my 50s, full disclosure.
This is my very last performance. Okay? I know where he's going.
So he's the godfather of hip hop in this town, but I'm the pastor that's the only one bold enough to open up the facilities for these young kids to come and do their thing. So Quan, I got too many stories, but the one that sticks out the most, outside of the time he didn't show up and he's sending a person to represent him.
What?
Come on,
I'll remember that.
You don't? Okay. No. On a Sunday morning, he was supposed to rap for me, and he sent somebody else in his place.
I
Your
ended
mama,
up coming.
That's exactly how it went. But anyway, so this dude's up there, and if I recall, he's doing a rap on the last poet on the stage tonight.
Yep.
The last one. And the dude stops mid-song. He's like, woo! It's like I'm at a gas.
I think you were DJing that
and
night.
he retired that night right in the middle of his rap
I
song.
put the mic down. That was 2009.
He walked away.
October 2009.
Pulled a hammy, and he was done.
I was done.
He pulled a hammy. I love it.
Anyway,
I didn't love doing it anymore. I was done. I
literally
I was out of
retired right
breath.
there on
I'm
the
like,
spot.
bro, I'm done.
He's out.
Bro, I mean, I love the idea of so you were saying something as you were talking about everything that you were doing and how your wife wanted to do the podcast and everything like that. This really speaks to me because when you start paying for stuff and then you start like, I'm Mexican, all right? I'm a MacGyver. I will make something from nothing. That's what I do. Is I'm like, how can I make this on my own without having to buy something? That's what I do, right? And that's what we do. We end up like, when you were saying,
I appreciate it because those skills have helped me out a lot in the studio.
100, that's 100.
Yeah.
But like how you were saying, I had this whatchamacallit, I had the interface, and then my wife got the mics and we started a podcast. But because we had this, I started learning how to do this. This is the thing that really stuck out with me, especially in 2024. You can attest to this. I know you can because you're an artist who's still working. It used to be all I need is a piece of paper and a pen and headphones with something to play beats on. That's it. That's all I needed. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, okay, I got to have an Instagram account Facebook account, Bandcamp. I have to learn how to not only take pictures but shoot video and make reels.
Yeah.
And it's not how it used to be. And I sound like the old guy, but if anything, I feel like that might be the reason why some people they lose gas, because I'm going to go full time. And you don't realize how much work full time is, and when you break it down, it's like how 50 said. Like when at the end of the day, you're working for less than minimum wage out there hustling. You're doing the same thing when it comes to creativity. So,
and that goes back to him saying this younger generation is more business minded now because they know to do all that.
yes,
Yeah, they spend less time creating and more time marketing.
mm-hmm.
And it's a brilliant strategy. I think I will say this, and this is the feather in my cap. I'm just going to believe to the end of time. They're going to hate their catalog in 10 years, though.
Speak on it.
Like,
yeah,
they will probably laugh on a bed of money like Ebenezer Scrooge.
Hey, say
But,
that. Yeah,
like, they're not going to like their catalog because they realize that the catalog was just an alley-oop for what they really wanted to market and sell. And so, I mean, that's a part of why the project is called Talk to Me Nice. I really wanted to bring the emphasis back on what people were saying as opposed to, just how it gets sold. So that was a really big thing for me. Salute to the young. It's like, I feel like if I was 22 right now, I'd probably be trying to do what they're doing. Because it doesn't, a lot of times the feeling of the benefit of having something to say, being of a reward, it just isn't there as much anymore. But like I said, who is Jered outside of what he does, right? What I am is I'm an encourager. What I am is I'm a chronic optimist.
come on.
Like what I am is somebody that really, and that's a part of why, I've really had to step into this pastoral role a lot more now. Because I see people for where they are, but I also see people for where they can be. And, I think that that's critical when it comes to the relational aspect of ministry. It's like, I'm not a rapper. And like, I'm not a rapper. Like, I just rap sometimes.
I like it.
But my kids, they want a father.
Yeah.
They don't care about the rap. Like my wife, the reason I know that my wife is my good thing, and I was telling some homies about this, is because even when the things that she says and pushes me to make me uncomfortable and even sometimes upset, when you break them down to the smallest molecule, they're intended for me to be better than I am.
That's good.
Like they're intended to push me toward the refinement that God is pushing me toward.
That's good.
Like,
good wife.
so if I have an issue with humility, she will cause me to be more self-aware. Like she's like, hey, all right, you said that. Like, and those things are good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Like, and so that to me is where, obtaining favor from the Lord looks like if she doesn't challenge you, if she doesn't push you to look more like Christ and to pursue more like what are we doing here? Like, what are we doing? Like, and so there is some discomfort, but that's a part of this process that we have to undergo, like as believers. And so for me, like I'm ecstatic about the project that's coming out on Friday, but honestly, like after this year, don't be surprised if my jersey in the rafters somewhere, bro. Like, don't be surprised if it's like, all right, guys, it was good while it lasted.
Now we need you around though. We need you to keep making good music because there's not a lot of people out there doing what you're doing with the heart you're doing it with. So don't quit too early, But
I won't.
But don't be like 55 still trying to be cool,
No, I'll do a children's book. I'll do something else. Like I'll do something simpler. Like
I mean
rap.
that podcast with your wife, you know what I'm saying? It might not have been the right timing.
That's a thing.
Yeah.
That's a thing. We've been
you guys like each other more now, right?
Really presented.
We could
Yeah,
tolerate.
it's these we're probably it's going tentatively going to be called Marriages for Gangsters. But yeah, man, I'm excited about all that God is doing, and I'm just happy to be a part of the process, like because this is it's a humbling experience, because like I said, like the people that come from where I come from, they don't have millions of views. You know what I'm saying? They haven't been on tons of publications.
Yeah.
That's not a normal thing. And the fact that I would even be arrogant enough to say, oh man, but it doesn't look like that. When what I've been given and the platform and opportunity I've been given is not afforded to but maybe 0.001% of people that even pick up a microphone. Like to not thank God that that's even an opportunity is where we lose the forest for the trees, man. I'm just like, so if I never rap again, I'm cool, bro. Like if God says don't rap ever again, like, bro, he's already given me more than enough in that capacity, man. So I just, now the goal is to be an excellent father, an excellent husband, and an excellent son and brother.
That's good.
Like, so that's the stuff that the well done, thy good and faithful servant. Like that's the thing. Like that's the goal. So this rap stuff is cool, but if I don't ever do it no more, I'm cool.
I love it.
All right, Jered, let everybody know where they can find you, where they can get this project that's coming out on Friday.
Yeah, man, talk to me nice. It will be available everywhere. Quick fact, this is my first, when I came to GOM some years ago, I approached Bizzle and he said, what do you want? I said, eventually I want to have my own imprint. I want to be able to have my own thing, my own label. And so this is a partnership between me and RMG Amplify, but this is actually a Hope is Dope music release.
Hey.
Oh, that's dope.
Yeah, so this is a big, milestone.
It's dope, man. Congrats on that.
Yeah, man. I'm still with GOM. Like we still got a project to go, but definitely.
Oh, man, I was hoping there was some beef there between you and Bizzle.
Huh?
I was hoping there was some beef there between you and Bizzle. I want some clickbait.
Nah, man. That's the bro. We still got another lap to run, but
dope.
This was an opportunity. I had to get this one off. I should be having 4 projects dropping this year.
Okay.
And so this was the first of 4 out of that 65 records that were recorded. And hopefully we make it to the finish line, God willing, man.
For sure, man. Well, make sure you send us videos. You always send me your music early most of the time anyways, or send me some samples, so I appreciate that. I heard you're doing an interview tomorrow. If the guy interviewing you asks any of the same questions that we asked, don't answer any of them.
Tell him just to go look at the podcast.
Because he's watching right now, and I don't want him stealing my... You're looking at your calendar?
I got an interview tomorrow?
That's what I heard. I mean, I wouldn't do it either, but
no,
I'm joking.
I mean, if I do,
he'll hit you up.
I think that's the key though. The key here is that if they're watching this interview, they would not be wise to ask the same questions you ask. You know what I'm saying? That's just really poor interviewing, and we don't
pressure.
We're not jacking that.
Pressure.
Like, we're not doing it.
Love it.
Well, Jered, I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate us being able to talk about sports a lot and stuff like that. Boxing. I know you love boxing right now.
Who's your guy, if you don't mind me asking? Boxing.
What weight class we talking? Because I got different people.
Top 3 all time. Top 3 all time.
Top 3 all time. Whoa.
The greatest of all time is Muhammad Ali. The greatest of all time. I don't necessarily think he was the best, but I think he was the greatest. In his heyday, I would say I really was a big fan of Roy Jones Jr. I think he could have really used some advisors like Mayweather had. Yeah, because he wouldn't have done stupid stuff like jumping up the heavyweight and dropping down the light heavyweight the next fight. after becoming the heavyweight champion of the world, and then he got beat up by Antonio Tarver because of that. That was foolishness. But I mean, Mayweather, he's got the goods. But I'm also a big fan of like Leonard. I'm a big fan of Hearns.
That's my guy.
I'm a big fan of a lot of guys. As far as the new era guys, the best resume, Canelo's probably got the best resume out of the new guys.
He's ducking though. He's ducking right now.
There's no argument there. But here's the thing. All right, so if we gonna do it, we gotta do it. So I'm not saying. I think yes and no. Right? I think yes and no. Is he ducking? I could see how that could be the perception, but this is what I'll say. I think that PBC came to him with a list of names, and David Benavidez was not one of those names. I feel like what they had him lined up for was Jamal, and Errol Spence Jr. I think those were the names. Jamal ended up having his personal issues, so he was out of the loop. So they brought Jamal in. Jamal wasn't one of them names.
Yeah,
like he wasn't one of the names. And Errol Spence, they were probably gonna try to make a super fight at the catch weight. The only reason that fight did not happen, I believe, is because Errol was stubborn. I believe PBC never wanted Errol to fight Bud Crawford. Errol wanted to fight Bud Crawford. And that's why when Bud was being difficult to negotiate with, a lot of the PBC guys were trying to tell him, hey, if we don't fight Errol, if we don't fight you, we'll go fight Keith Thurman. Like they were probably advising Errol to go to 154, fight Keith Thurman, go to 154, fight Tim Tszyu, like move up so that we could eventually make this catchweight fight between you and Canelo, maybe 164 or something like that. Errol was stubborn. He decided to get in there with Bud Crawford. He got the brakes beat off him. And Canelo was never given additional names. You know what I'm saying? Like they threw Bud Crawford in there. That was never a realistic option. Like, so when they decided to say, hey, Canelo, we know we promised you $35 million a fight, right? We promised you this money. So we'll give you that, but you have to fight David Benavidez at the end of this. And Canelo was probably like, first of all, he wasn't one of the names y'all did. You're not gonna pull a fast one on me all of a sudden. And I've earned the status that I have. I'm not gonna fight him. I'm not gonna do what you want, so I'm out. And so that's what I genuinely believe happened. I believe I would love to see the fight, but I don't feel like he ducked David because I don't think David was ever an option. I think they tried to tuck that in on the back end when some of the other fights didn't materialize.
But do you think he would beat him if they did fight?
I do.
See, the difference between these eras and the eras you're talking about with Sugar Ray and Hagler, those boys fought each other, so we knew. Here it's all about trying to avoid and pack your record.
I believe Canelo beats Benavidez. I believe Benavidez is too flat-footed. And I don't believe he's going to stand in front of Canelo because I think that would be the stupidest thing he could possibly do. But I'm also not mad at Canelo for one very simple reason. Boxing is full of weight bullies right now, bro. And David Benavidez, he campaigns at 168, but that dude, there's no doubt in my mind when he fought Boo Boo, he was blown up to over 190 pounds, man. Like, Canelo's not an idiot. Like, Canelo started his career at welterweight. To jump up to fight somebody at 168 who's going to be 30 pounds heavier than you, possibly, on fight night, it's not worth it. I'm not giving up everything that I've earned.
Mr. Sanders, you just went up about 100 notches in my book because I'm a combat fight crazy, so I love you, man. I don't know one of your songs, but you are my favorite rapper of all time. Like, for real.
Likewise, my favorite rapper.
All time. Seven's got nothing on you, bro.
Oh.
Nothing. Tell him I said it.
Yeah.
Are you into UFC and MMA as much as boxing?
I'm into MMA. I don't know about UFC as much. I think I'm not a big fan of how they monopolize the sport and they still paying a lot of these dudes peanuts. But UFC sells the brand. They don't sell the fighter. So I get it. So I get that's why some of these fighters get underpaid, because it's UFC and whatever the number is. It's not, this is the main event. You know, boxing is like, no, this is the Mayweather such and such card. There's no name for the event, right? So UFC has a different leverage because it's not a lot of leagues out there that for them to fight in. So I do watch MMA. I am finding myself more interested in MMA now because they're actually making fights as opposed to boxing.
And that's why a lot of people got off boxing and got on MMA, because you're going to see good fights every single week. Not even every month. You're seeing good fights every week on fight nights. And then when they do have the pay-per-views, you're seeing the best fighters fight each other all the time.
Because nobody's really making groundbreaking money. So everybody's hungry.
Yeah.
Like, so there's nobody who's walking into there like, I got 10 times this guy. Like, so I'm not going to work out as much.
Yeah.
Like MMA is like, all right, if I slack off, I might get killed in here. Like, so it's a lot different. So, yeah.
All right. Well, that's Jered Sanders. We appreciate you, bro. And go get the album and don't just stream it, buy it.
Yeah, buy
help support the artist.
Stream it.
And then you stream it. But we appreciate you, bro. Look forward to more music, and we'll definitely be in talks soon.
Indeed, man.
Bless you. Bless you, my friend.
Y'all. God bless.
Peace, man.
Peace out.
Yo, that is Jered Sanders right here on Speak Life. We're going to get into another one of his tracks. It's 300ZX. This is my favorite track on the project on Talk to Me Nice. So make sure you check it out, and we will be back shortly to talk to my pastor. And I have a feeling he's going to have more stories.
I love it.
Yeah. Yo. Two-tone back, rocking canary yellow stones, VVS in the lobes, grinding with legendary goals. Put some work on the block, praying to cover weary souls. Ambition and tan whipping, I tried to marry both. One tripping off dog terrors, I had to carry smoke. I was pitching them all errors before the levees broke. And the water was all air and it coated up the dope. On the block it was all fair and the smokers got the soap. They was looking for stars, some of them had to carry scopes. Tried to copy the pose, dreaming imaginary roles. Heave shackles or chains is probably why they carry ropes. Paper bag for the pain, feelings you had to bury those. Had the dope in the pants pocket, adapt is what we chose to complete all the transactions and never tell a soul what we did. Left a hole in the kid. Man, I probably lost a couple $100 by the crib. Tried to double up, homie got me close by the crib. Gilly those by the crib, had me froze by the crib. I was running, probably had a snotty nose by the crib. That's the night I got chose by the crib. I ain't never going back, only trying to walk forward. I ain't stepping off the gas, homie, I'm a top floor. Homie, I just gotta laugh when I'm looking back. Took me out of dab, running tracks, then he said to walk for it. Man, I'm all for it. Back to the fam, telling Naba got a flight plan. Paid it all, we ain't gotta get a price scan. Even though the stripes probably looking like a barcode. Get another by the ending of the lifespan. Yeah, tell him pick me up. Knew about the kid from the moment of the sippy cup. I used to pray to have monopoly money, but not of riches and glory. And I ain't tripping off a little buck. He said the treasure of the wicked got a spot for me. Even if it's not, I'm never tripping over broccoli. Knew me in the womb, I was living like a mockery. But when I heard the news, it fulfilled another prophecy. 29/11 for the script. I was living thinking heaven was a myth. Grandma must have prayed a prayer that I followed in and lived. I slided cause of sin till the father got a grip. Every letter is a fact, I'ma tell it like it is. You ain't try to finish last, lot of prayer to get equipped. Better talk to him, yeah. Or better yet, better walk to him. Call to him even if it's feeling kinda off to him, yeah. Or make a living in hell, it's not a visitor cell. I had an atheist homie, didn't sit with him well. To hear about a loving God that was wishing him well when he was tripping and fell. I said, why you worry about somebody you don't care about, leaving you behind when you never tried to hear him out? All they tell me is he realer than you know. You been capping for so long, you forgot that it was paramount. Like, yeah, forgot that it was paramount. Yeah, talk to me nice.
This next song is called Uh-Oh. Off Talk to Me Nice. We'll play a little snippet of this, and then we'll get back into the show right here on Speak Life. Appreciate you guys tuning in.
Light.
Jered, I got to drop it.
Yeah. Most days I never be bothered with all of the drama presented in day to day. Most people won't even start up a problem. They not for the brawling, it's safe to say. We come from the bottom. We ain't got $1 to cop it and put it on layaway. We go down the block for the washing and put all the ramen on top of the paper plate. Fry bologna, get a bubble, you pop it. Catch him lacking and you run in his pockets. Anything to get some money to top it. Go with the broccoli, what I've been trying to get. Man, a blessing at least. And when I'ma give it a rest, when I'm resting in peace. Used to see all of the baddies and only would bother with physical features. I was a baller, you see, with a ratchet that's sorta like Gilbert Arenas. Hey, didn't wanna grow up, I fill up the double with Henny and Cola. And wanted a rollie and whipping a rover to send it with plenty of big as a boulder. Wanted to know how the predators move and double the credit and step with the goons. And trying to be bad is a terrible tool. Ride with the devil, a negative move. Said it was hell, I was headed into. I got a spot up in heaven, I'm not finna get it if I don't get out of this. Ay. I try to run up a bag and double it back and cop in the bins, I try to run up a tab and up in the mag and follow the trends, I try to hustle and brag and up in the flag and holler revenge, I try to clutch it and pull up and dump it, the money I got it to spend, I try to run up a bag and double it back and cop in the bins, I try to run up a tab and up in the mag and follow the trends, I try to hustle and brag and up in the flag and holler revenge, I try to clutch it and pull up and dump it, the money I got it to spend. Most of these
that's Jered Sanders. Talk to Me Nice. Make sure you guys get the album. It is coming out this Friday, and it's dope, as you could hear from the little snippets that we played. But listen, man, you see the merch. We finally got it. I've been talking about it for 2 years. We finally got some merch. So hats, t-shirts. We're going to be doing pre-orders next week, probably. So make sure you follow @Gorilla Cross on all social media, so you know how to do the pre-orders and you know where to get all that. So we're gonna have shirts, hats, different colors. We'll probably kind of start off just with the little black and red right now.
That's dope.
But man, yeah, it's dope. I like it. It came out, better than I thought it would. So I'm happy. All right. Follow us @Gorilla Cross once again on all social media. And once again, get Talk to Me Nice by Jered Sanders on all platforms ASAP. So my pastor's here. I appreciate you coming.
He says that. It's so neat.
He's my
that he
pastor.
says that.
He doesn't realize how much I watch. I have to text him sometimes so he knows I'm watching. But I do text him late.
Hey.
So he knows I'm watching late.
I guess I'm still that OG that likes to see the human body in the facility, but hey, I'm learning, I'm growing.
No, I'm trying to get there more often. Football season's over, so it'll be a little
every
easier.
3 years.
Wah, wah.
It'll be easier now. But no, I mean he became my pastor at a really odd time in my life. We were I went through some things, and the pastor I was with at the time gave me advice, like, we were doing the 180 shows, Gorilla Cross. We were doing hip hop shows every once a month, the live concerts. And I went through some things. I'm like, so should I still be doing them? Like, should I take time off? And the pastor's like, yeah, keep doing it. Just call me whenever you need to use the venue. And so I hit him up one day. I emailed him. He said, just email me. He put no exclamation mark. Didn't say anything else. And I was like, what? And so every Sunday at church, it was just weird. Like, I would try to talk to him and just say what's up, update him on what I'm going through with what I was going through and how I'm doing now with getting closer to God and all that. And it was just, couldn't talk to him. And so I just got to the point where I was just done. I'm like, dude, I've been in church my whole life. It's just weird. I don't really want to be doing this right now. Like, I still get in my word. I still love God. I still want to be a Christian, but church was just very difficult at the time. And our man, Mikey Ice, he was like, man, you got to start the shows back up. This is probably like maybe a year later. He's like, I have a pastor, he has a dope church building, dope venue, and let me introduce you to him. So he introduces me, and little did I know, we had done a show at one of his other venues. It was on Vegas in Decatur with Jamie Medina.
Oh wow, this is a
years
long
and years
time
before.
ago.
And I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I recognize these people. Like, you know, and we had did something there. His dad, who was the pastor at the time, actually prophesied over me and us and just, you know, doing the music. And it was cool running into them again. So the cool thing was he invited us to do, you know, one show, one event at his venue. He didn't expect us to come to the church because other churches I hit up, they were trying to change everything. They were trying to take control. And it's like the vision I had was not the vision that they were trying to, you know, continue with it, that we started back in the coffee shop in 2002 at Holy Ground. So I thought that was cool. I'm like, okay, this pastor is different. He's not trying to take over or make all of us come to his church if we do it there. So long story short, this is my story. I'm not sure if this is the same story, but he wanted me to rap at the church that Sunday morning. He's like, well, come, you know, do a song and you can promote, you know, what you're doing. I was driving. I couldn't find the place. And I was not trying to have it. I'm like, dude, I don't even know where it's at. I'm turning back around. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm going back home. He calls me up right when I turn. He's like, hey, are you close? I'm like, oh yeah, I am. So I turn back around and I go up there and there's like 10 people in the church. So I can rap better in front of 300 people than I can 10. But you probably feel the same way, right? Like, it's probably easier speaking in front of more people than knowing that all those eyes are looking at you, right? So I went there and did that. And I was not working at the time. I was trying to do the, you know, just
Full-time.
be a rapper. I was full time. And they gave the Pentecostal handshake to me afterwards.
Oh.
And I'm like, what is that? And all these people are giving me money. And at the time, when you have no money and you get even $40 or $50, like, that's a lot of money,
huge.
you know? And I'm like, that's dope. Like, I don't even go here and they're treating me like family, treating me like I belong, you know? And so we ended up doing the show. I'm still not going to the church, but it was like cool talking to him. And he was allowing us to come back. After we did the first event, he said, you guys can come back anytime. He loved it. And so we're like, all right, cool. So eventually I did start going and a lot of the other hip hop people, the community started going there. I know you guys have both, you know, built a relationship with him over the years as well. But he helped us. What we're doing right now is a product of what you helped us do through the years, even just business minded. You know, I was trying to do web design. You would always preach to us, if you're not making full-time money doing it, it's a hobby. So as it's a hobby until you get full-time doing it, get a regular job, you know? And you would preach that to us a lot. And you helped give me the confidence to be able to like start a business and get to where, you know, I'm not just having to work regular jobs. I always had the studio, but I was working regular jobs at the same time. So thinking business-minded between you and Pastor Larry, your dad, helped get this to where it's at right now. So I just want to thank you for that, first of all, for speaking that into us and giving us that platform when, like you said, nobody was giving us that platform for hip hop. Now I think it's a little easier to do stuff, but at that time it's like we had nothing, and it probably would have fallen apart if we didn't find that was like the last ditch effort to find a venue.
Yep.
He opened his doors, and so here we are today.
Crazy, huh?
And you're here, you're a pastor of a church, and we talked about it a little bit before, like you've worked a full-time job this whole time I've known you. Mm-hmm. So talk about that a little bit, being a full-time pastor and being a full-time employee.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm proud of you, 5'9". This is weird to see us at this stage of life. 5 kids. How many champs you got?
I have one.
Wow. So you guys are rocking it. And so I just commend you guys for staying the course and continue to do what you do. Yeah, that's a sore subject because as our friend that was just on, sometimes I think we have that image. I ain't gonna lie, I've said this story many times. When we came to Las Vegas, graduated Bible school in 1990. After Bible school, my wife and I found ourselves in New Jersey as full-time youth pastors. And then as we start to feel a call to come to Vegas to try to do something radical, we came here with no support, no job, a family of 4 in a U-Haul, believing for full-time ministry. And I remember coming here, and my parents had kind of pioneered and come out here a little bit before
So
us.
your idea was to come out here and...
I said this, quote, honey, in 6 months, we're going to take over this city. we'll be full-time ministers.
6 months.
6 months.
Gave him 6
I
months.
put
all
a
right.
time frame on it and immediately became a false prophet. But I'm thankful that the Lord hasn't answered it according to the image that I hoped for, because now, fast forward, a few decades later, my daughter's 30. When we came here, I think
30,
she was
wow.
3 or 4. Our son's 28, and this has helped us equip them for life, and they're excelling at a really, really high level. And I think if we were just honestly pastoring a church of a few hundred, a couple of things, and this is not to offend anybody. Often, pastors who pastor small churches that are trying to do it, quote, full-time, get very bitter because the budget is not there to pay them a salary that's livable. So therefore, you start to often, not always, manipulate in the offering and guilt people to a level that we shouldn't.
Yeah.
And it's a vicious cycle that I see often in churches that are a few hundred and under that run into that problem. So my dad, I commend him and my mom. My dad's been an entrepreneur my whole life. He's always pushed work ethic into me and my brother and my sister. And he's going to be 80 in August, still running his company, still getting up, going to work. But this is where we got to shift in our mind. I'm a follower of Christ, so I'm a full-time minister.
Yeah.
And that's the conversation I want to have today.
And that's what we've talked about so
and it
many
has
times.
Nothing
Like
to do with the paycheck.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
until we get that reformation in our mind, I think we're going to have minimal results in the kingdom of God.
What's caused that? Because we've talked about that for 20 years. Like we're all full-time ministers. You don't have to, your life is a full-time ministry. We've always talked like that. How has our culture not seen that, and we think it has to be a full-time job to be a full-time minister?
I think that's one of America's beauty and America's plight at the same time. I'm fortunate to have a school in Liberia, Africa. The average income there for the ministers is $6 to $8 a month. We have about 250, 275 students. Shout out to Pastor Lawrence. And so their image of ministry is different. They're waking up in the region I'm at, going to get water, going to get food. The lifestyle's different. They're not going to a 9-to-5 job, so they have a different posture as they position themselves for ministry. But I think it's more of a Western struggle, and we've kind of made it an idolatrous thing. I remember when I was graduating Bible school, I was watching, and that was all they knew. I had a different image because of my dad's example.
Yeah.
There was people literally sending out resumes on something called a fax machine to places all over the country.
Yeah.
And it was baffling me because I'm thinking, well, you're almost like going after a job at some sort of Amazon company. Are you praying and seeking God where you should go? And it was just foreign to me. And a lot of times those didn't work out long term because you're just kind of a hireling instead of being called to a specific region.
Oh, say that again.
And so for me, when Margaret and I came here, it was a deep prophetic call to come to this city. And there was a lot of conflict to get here. We left comfort, church parsonage, a check, insurance, to do it a way that honestly was hard and more of a risk. And I'm grateful to God for it.
How do you navigate that as a pastor with people, desiring that full-time ministry? Because I know you dealt with that a lot, with the hip-hop world. And I'm sure you still deal with that in other aspects of ministry. How do you navigate that to let people know that, our life is a full-time ministry? Because God's placed us all in different jobs and different positions and different places.
I would love to think, I'm going to say something that's going to be so wise, and all of a sudden this wisdom will drop on you like dew, and it's going to come to reality. But just like the gentleman that was speaking, sometimes God has to take you through a refining process. That's kind of mano and mano, one-on-one, and here we go for a ride. I will say, I said it before, this is not my term, but you can either learn by wisdom, our mentors, our mistakes. And so I've really tried to position myself and posture myself to make sure I'm learning from mentors, because we don't always have to learn the hard way.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this answers the question, but us pastors who are pastoring smaller churches need to be proud of pastoring who's there.
Yeah.
Yes.
We can unmistakably punish the people, and every service becomes about, it's not good enough, there's not enough people, there's no butts in the seats. I never go home and say, gosh, Lord, you only gave me this many kids.
Yeah.
How dare you?
Wow.
I'm grateful for who he's allotted in my life, who he's destined to be my grandchildren. And I think if we can posture ourselves, and let's be honest, I'll be real frank with you, it comes down to money. Just like in the hip hop world, you get disillusioned and frustrated because you have an image, you want to drop some beats, drop some songs, drop some bars, and honey, I'm going full time. No, you're going full time if the bills are being paid. Mm-hmm. So in ministry and pastoring, it's the same thing. Our little facility, guys, it's $20,000 a month for our little budget.
Wow.
There's not enough right now with our ministry unless I'm wanting to pound and manipulate people to say, hey, we need a salary that's livable. So why would I want to burden the flock? Why would I want to be that pastor that's on Instagram beating the people all the time with how churches are miserable and the people are leaving our church? I just don't want to be that guy. It would be a terrible thing to be called a minister of the gospel, and this is where we need a reformation in our mind, and I die miserable. We're talking about, really, if we really believe what we say, we're talking about heaven and hell's on the line for eternity for every person walking the face of the earth. So if our product is bad as believers and we're sharing a product that sucks, why would I want your product? You're a miserable minister who's bitter all the time, and people pick up on that.
Man,
and we see it a lot. We've seen it a lot.
People need to hear that, man. Like they need to hear that. What I want to say is this, because I really do appreciate like the idea of you wake up in the morning and you go to your 9-to-5 job, whatever it is. Like I appreciate that 10 times more now that I'm a father, right? My son's 8 years old. Before I was married and before I had a son, me not starving was the only thing that drove me to work, right? And I feel like,
then you're just working just to get by.
Just to get by. Yeah. Like I've written songs about it where like I'm living off of vending machines in the dollar menu that nobody even knows it exists because this was a long time ago from McDonald's. That's how I survived, right? And then now you have how you were saying, you're sending out resumes as a minister, you're sending out resumes all across the nation because you're trying to find a job, and you're not seeking where God's calling you. You're seeking a job, like a 9-to-5. And that's what I appreciate about everything that you just said, was that, being proud of the small congregation that God has given you to build is the same as being proud of, so like for the artists, every artist that we've interviewed on the show, being proud of the small group of people that you minister to. That's why every like, again, the pillars, when I stop and tell them, because I've been listening to Christian hip hop since like the 90s, and I'm like, you have influenced, like you've helped me just be a better Christian by listening to your music, because I was able to hear the word better. Yeah. And now I transition that because Quan, the reason why I love Quan is because Quan is very frank in the way he speaks. And the fact that you call him 5'9" shows the depth of history that you have with him, because not a lot of people know Knock 959. They don't know that guy. They know Quan from Gorilla Cross, like right now. The idea that you, just like the artists that I've come into contact with, where like I've listened to the music, you have that history that you've built with him to the ministry that we have here now. Mm-hmm. Like, and I'll tell you the same way I tell everybody else. If you never hear it anywhere else, you can know that you've done what God asked you to do, because of what we're physically doing here is a byproduct of you being obedient to the calling that God put on your life. And you weren't trying to be like, oh, we need money. Like the offering plate was so little, like da-da-da-da-da. Like your congregation probably never knows that.
We helped grow the church with a whole bunch of broke people. So it's not like we were doing a service to him as far as bringing people in that had money, It was just, there was a whole bunch of people, aspiring rappers that had no jobs, that were all full-time ministers.
And you know what's even harder is this. It's hard for just the average person who, again, so when it comes to hip hop, there's a certain demographic of people. Yeah. In order to speak to that demographic of people and minister the gospel to where somebody says, you know what? I feel comfortable coming here and listening to somebody teach me about God and prophesy into my life. Oh, I want to go and see what word he has for me. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that God speaks to him. Like you've proven yourself in what it is, that is hard to be able to speak to men who are a specific demographic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like I think of Longo and
Bongos on the bongo.
like J-Mac and like just G-Bled, like all of these guys who were doing big things in Vegas. You had a direct result, whether you were like personally ministering to them or through Quan saying, yo, I got some, or 12, like I got something from you and I'm going to spread like, it goes beyond. And I'm
yeah, I agree. Cause he even sowed seeds into me. He left himself open. Like I would hit him up with things I was going through and it was personal. He's like, all right, come out to the track. I came out to the track and I think I remember his son was running out there, but he took time out to talk to us, you know, one-on-one. Not only that, but he opened up the pulpit for us to minister to. So he was growing us up at the same time. I think it was Wednesdays he would let us to actual preach a sermon. Like we would take turns and he helped us grow. So you don't know
discipleship.
The little seed that you're
Well,
planting.
you're preaching this Wednesday.
I'm open. But like the little seeds that you sow, you don't know what's going, you don't know what you're doing. Like who knows what pastors he's made, you know, out of that little 100, or who knows who you're rapping to out of your little 10 people that you rap, you might inspire somebody to do something great on.
Well, and this here is some of the fruit he could actually see, right?
Right.
You could see this. How much do you not see that God's done through you and done through you and done through you, you know?
Yeah. And you.
Yeah.
Yep.
100%. My question would be this, because I remember like the biggest, I remember when you were when the church was off of Decatur and it was in that back little business park back there. It was it was off of Decatur in between Rancho and Cheyenne or something. I forget where that location was.
That was Cheyenne and Jones. The Hollywood video building?
No, this was before that. It was in a little business park.
Tanea and
I think
Crimson something.
No, it was off
There was
Rancho.
there was one on Decatur as well.
Or Decatur or Rancho. Yeah. It wasn't like if you were going. Anyways, if you're going north on Decatur and you make a right and it's a business park all the way in the back. So, and then I saw then you were at the Hollywood video and whatnot. So my question is this, because when you said you came to Vegas, baby, in 6 months, we're going to be like, this is it. And then when you bounce from place to place to place, like, what does that conversation look like? If you don't mind me asking, what's that conversation look like between you and your wife? And these are real people struggles. Like, because I know there's tension. Like, oh man, we were perfect marriage. We were told she was 100% okay with it, and I was 100% okay with it. Like, what does that look like? How do you get past that? Like,
you know what? I think you kind of build strength and stamina as you make moves. So nothing was more challenging to leave full-time and comfort, meaning security. We were, at the time, a little fun backstory, when we were youth pastors, our senior pastor was the Jonas Brothers' dad. So before they became really big, so from all perceptions, I'm not to knock anybody, from all perceptions, we were blowing up. Mm-hmm. It was blowing up. But I felt sometimes just because something is bigger doesn't mean it's better. And I won't get into that, but I just didn't feel right about it, is how things were going. And so we, like I said, we made that big step. So to your question, that strengthened a spiritual muscle. And then when you're out here, and we didn't maybe get full-time in ministry, but I also had economic aspirations, because I remember the pastor before that came down was actually the one who hired me before the Jonases came aboard. He had lost his job, and for no reason except that the board was bored. The board was bored. They fired him on a Friday night, and Pastor Welly, for some reason you ever listen to this, you're one of my heroes, and I really struggled with that image of a man
fired on your day off,
who was doing a great, excellent job serving the church for over a decade, and the church just wanted to change. But in that process, he had a really hard time finding another ministry, and he had a family of 5. And I remember that shaking me. I think I was 23 at the time, 24, and I said to myself in my head, and I said it to Margaret, I'll never put myself in a position where a board can determine my economic future for my family.
Yeah.
that's good.
Now, I made a wrong agreement and a bad aggression internally, but I was angry with how that went down. And I remember thinking, how this is the truth. And I was youth pastor, and Margaret and I were making $200 a week and living in a church parsonage. And my parents didn't raise me to have a poverty mentality.
Yeah.
And so I used to think when my kids were young, well, what if my kids come to me and say, Daddy, I feel called to do something, but it's going to take a certain toolbox of tools, such as college, that I would have to say, well, Lord, honey, we're serving the Lord in ministry and we can't afford it. That just didn't feel right to me. And so I wasn't going to limit my capacity as a minister to determine my economic future. So I trusted God even as we came here. So in 6 months' time, we didn't have a full-time ministry, but we owned our first house. And so God was showing me, hey, I'm anointing you in this space, and maybe I'm breathing on this in a different way because your kids, you don't know yet, but your kids have some callings that you're unaware of. Fast forward, my daughter at 12 started telling us out of her mouth, I feel called to government. Well, you start doing the research on what that's going to take economically for the schooling she needed. That was almost $200,000 of education she needed to get where she wanted to go. So fast forward to your question, our muscles were flexing. God wasn't necessarily answering or what I thought the image was of ministry, but we had got so much stamina. If it meant moving, God, you're going to provide. You've already shown us all these other situations. So it's your church, you're building it. So I want to take hands off. And I think ministers need to do a little bit better job of that. The reason we're so stressed, because we take it and we start to build it. And I've been there. And he said, I'll build my church. And so I want ministry to be fun, man. If this ain't going to be fun, I'm going to hang it up. So over time, and I got to give credit to Hot Mama. That is my wife. That is not my mistress, if you're listening. But that's her nickname. And she has been a staple, strong. Same with Papa and Nana, because we've been doing this as a team. Pastor Paul, Pastor Freddie, Pastor Lisa, the whole team. I got an amazing team that's been loyal. Like, these are the people, if you're going to go in a fight, remember who I want in the trenches with me. So we've kind of built our muscle.
I like the fact that there is the team, man. The team is something I feel gets overlooked a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like having a team, especially of people that aren't. I heard somebody say one time, like, especially when it comes to ministry, it's a thankless job in the sense that God uses you more when nobody sees it. And that's when you know you're really doing God's work, because you're not there for the accolades. And the fact that you have a team that you're like, this is the team that I want. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't want to be in the trenches with nobody else except for these people. How do you feel about people that are doing things that feel like, I can do it on my own without having a team?
Well, they're in trouble. Yeah, they're in trouble. And I honestly, and I say this with all 100%, these people have worked as hard or harder than Margaret and I, and they are go-getters. So I witnessed it. So we can't take credit. I'm the one on the mic right now, but if you heard their story and their faithfulness and them being there, they are just as, now if you were to unpack their story, just maybe because I might be the senior guy, but they are just as important. 12, you guys know 12. Mm-hmm. 12 is now one of the new soldiers that does all the technical stuff with Pastor Paul. Those people are there hours before I get there because I'm working all night, that I can show up and things are ready to rock and roll. So we got to start seeing significance in every joint, every person that's a part of this thing.
Yeah, and going back to, you having a job and stuff like that, you had your own cleaning company, which I didn't vacuum, and I wanted to vacuum before you got here.
I noticed it.
Because he'll notice everything. He's a clean freak.
That's how you should be. Master trade.
Yeah. Cleaning company, and now you're doing something different. And I want to kind of take people on that journey. And, I haven't talked to you a lot about it, so I kind of want to know, too, what got you into... Where was your head?
Don't say it yet.
At this time?
Don't say it yet.
I won't say it yet.
Because I do want to say to the listener, because what I'm doing now may not be as relevant, but let's go back 6 months when I'm having the dream and the belief that I want to be a full-time minister. I'm now working at a property as a Horizons Ridge Apartments, 8600 West Charleston. I'm leasing apartments. I'm making $7.25 an hour. I get $25 for leases. And so now I got a family.
When is this?
Bro, this is 1997, 98, right? Just kind of moving here, stocking shelves at night at grocery stores and computer stores. So I'm working 2 jobs and doing full-time ministry. moral of the story is I want to encourage the listener is God is working behind the scenes way more than you realize. I remember weeks, if not months before, going to my dad because I started meeting new people that needed discipleship. Jeremy, Derek Johnson, Lisa Price. Lisa Price was at that time living a gay lifestyle. And so I was, Lord, how do we disciple these people?
Yeah.
But I'm working 2 jobs. And in my mind, I just kind of had this idea, well, what am I good at?
You're meeting them through work?
Work, properties. Jeremy lived at the property, so I leased him an apartment. Derek was a carpet cleaner vendor that would come in. So pay attention where God has you and what seems menial, what seems like not significant because it might be the future connection.
So you didn't know you were doing full-time ministry right then?
Exactly.
Wow.
So I had no idea that actually this was God showing me future disciples that we would do life together for decades. And so as that unfolded, I remember,
and these are people he still knows and with. And Lisa is,
she's the children's pastor.
She's a children's pastor at the church.
So I was put in an office, true story, with 5 different women who just happened to be very sloppy and messy people. And they were leasing agents, and I was always picking up after them, not because I was nice. My desk just happened to be next to the kitchen. And with my OCD self, every time they put a dish in and I would smell their funky lunch sitting there, it would make me angry. And I would clean up. I'd ask them a few times, hey, if you put your dish in the dishwasher, it mean a lot to me. They wouldn't do it. Over time, the manager's watching me. She calls me in one day after I'd already told my mom and dad, I think the Lord wants me to start a cleaning company that can be a tool to disciple. But I'm also thinking, how can I have more economics for my family? Manager calls me into her office. She was a complete heathen. She hated me talking about the things of God. But she said to me, Danny, I think you need to start a cleaning company. I just had been talking to my family about this. I said to her, are you serious? She said, I'll tell you what, you get all the right paperwork, all the insurances. I'll give you this contract, but here's the condition. You can't quit the day job. I'm going to train you until you're ready that these are passable for our standard. So I would work the day job. My dad took me a few days later, got all the information, all the stuff needed, dropped the stuff, and now I started a cleaning company right out of the leasing spot. Did that for 30 days.
Gosh.
She quit. And let me tell you something. It went from a few $100 to where now I'm having to manage thousands of dollars because that led to one property, and then a month later, all of a sudden, I get a call from their sister property, La Tierra. And they said, hey, we heard you're doing a good job over there at Horizons. We want you to try you out tomorrow. And I said, well, how many units you got? I'm hoping for 1 because it's just me.
Yeah.
They said, we got 12.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
I called my dad, said, I don't know what to do, but I don't want to say no. We gathered the few little church members we had and said, we need a miracle day tomorrow. Fast forward, that was a 1,000-unit property.
Wow.
That property changed my life. I worked on that property for over 15 years, started meeting people. Which now leads me to your question. So ask your question again, because it's relative still almost 27 years later.
Yeah, so you go from running a cleaning company that long, and then you start doing something else recently that took me by surprise. We have a friend, Cruz, my boy Eric. He's been a corrections officer for a long time and just recently retired. He tried to get me into it when we were in our 20s. We used to rap together and stuff like that, and that was something he was trying to push to me too, like, man, it's good money. I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do it. But I mean, shout out to people that are called to do it because, he did great doing it and he was able to retire. Now he can live his life and do whatever he wants at a young age. So,
It's young.
Your mentality, and I know a lot of this, like I'm going through it. I'm 47 right now. So you're thinking like, okay, what's the future going to look like? What are we doing? What am I doing? But you're a pastor and you want to get into corrections. What was that first initial thought process like, hey, I think I want to do this? And what was that conversation like with your wife?
Well, it actually started before that. May 25th, 2020 was a day that I think changed the world as we know it. That was the day George Floyd was killed.
Yeah.
And I started thinking it. For those that don't know, there's a young gal named Rachel that's part of our family. She considers this like a spiritual mom and pop. She's a black gal. So we've talked a lot about policing
And the church in general is very mixed. I mean, that's why we've all went there. It's always been accepting for, every race. Like it's a very mixed.
So we were her youth pastor when she was 10.
Yeah.
Back in New Jersey. She's 30. She's in her 40s. We still do life with her.
Yeah.
So it's still a couple calls a week. So those conversations we've had a lot with some political stuff, trying to understand from a black person's life and what they deal with, and then me dealing with as a people. I have a very ethnic family. I got adopted sister from China, and so I like to think I'm kind of not just thinking like the typical white dude.
Yeah.
I do want to say before we get into this conversation, full disclaimer, I'm still on an odd missions trip in this journey that led me to go for the Metro. So I want everyone to be sensitive that I may still say some things that that may be a little bit off. It's not my intention, because I'm trying to find myself as well spiritually, because I'm believing there's going to be a great move of God on the earth that we haven't seen. And that sounds crazy, hyper spiritual, but what do I mean by that? We're in a real tipping point in our country.
Yeah.
The church is in a real tipping point, and we need, I believe with all my heart, a fresh encounter with God. We need the book of Acts to come alive in our day. Not to pick on you guys or you, Quan. It shouldn't be the believer's statement that church is a frustrating place to go.
Yeah.
It should be a life flowing place that we're excited. David said it's good when they said, let us go into the house of the Lord. And I think we have many people that have been part of church, grew up in church, but have become a little disillusioned and frustrated with church. And we need to fix that.
Yeah.
And we need to have conversations of why that has happened, and possibly leaders need to repent, but every believer has to give accountability, because we are the church. We're the body of Christ, the called out ones. So you have to help me direct this, because I got so many things that this conversation could go. So you want to know how
it's good.
How this happened?
Yeah. The whole
so
process.
It started in
that
that date where I started thinking about law enforcement. Just like I had the same passion that I hate and literally want to fist fight when people say, all pastors want is your money. Because those were my first fights as a young kid. Oh, your daddy just wants the money. No, my daddy's worked his whole life, dude. You have no idea. You're taking it out on a few that screwed up back in the 80s, and then you're stigmatizing the majority who's done a really good job. And that's kind of the case with, I think, almost in any industry. One makes a mistake, and so now we're going to pigeonhole everybody. Yeah. And I felt that way about our country. I love our country. I love military. I love people who want to protect our country, but and what happened on that day was horrific, and it changed, I think, the world as we know it. And so that led me on a journey. What would it be like, the process to go through law enforcement? I was curious what it took to get a badge. Is there really some extensive process of somebody who has a gun?
Because sometimes it looks easy, like you're letting anyone in for them to be able to do stuff like this.
I was very, very curious, and also wanting to be a help to my community. I'm not trying to sound dramatic or cool, so don't. There's a lot of hard days and a lot of crying days, and I tease all the time. Even as today with my wife, I think I'm going to retire from law enforcement, and I've been in it for 3 weeks. But it's been like over a year and some process to get to this point. So,
did you think when you first had that idea that maybe I'll just go and see what the beginning is like and then kind of jump out of it? Did you think you were going to go through the whole process of actually going through the boot camp and the training and actually be in there and be doing this as a job?
My hope today, as I prayed about coming here today, is I think sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, even as the gentleman earlier. When you get a desire or an image, unintentionally, sometimes that image becomes an idol because we create the movie, we edit it, we write it, we produce it, and we think it's going to unfold in that way. And I've found...
Sounds like my dating life.
Yeah, exactly. And everybody said amen. Attaboy. You're good, brother. So I think we unintentionally, I don't think Joseph, when he woke up and said to his brothers, hey guys, I got something I want to tell you today. I don't think he envisioned them selling him off into Egyptian slavery and his life spiraling for the next 15 years. Yeah. Life has a way of like being unpredictable. So the irony of even the cleaning company, I was at my MMA gym and I was just doing a local roll of jiu-jitsu, shout out Uprising MMA, and other people from other gyms came in and we kind of had a gentleman's day of rolling. Unbeknownst to me, I was rolling with one of the key leaders in the Metro, Sergeant LeBaron, who's one of my heroes and one of my mentors. We were rolling that particular day, and this is how I reckon.
Can you tell people what rolling is in MMA?
Rolling is jiu-jitsu. It's
Okay,
just we were rolling.
Be different things in different areas.
Thanks for the clarification.
On the ground, you're on the ground. You're grappling.
So we were competing in grappling and jiu-jitsu and just helping sharpen each other's tools. And I think somebody might have said, hey, referred to me as Pastor Dan, and that led to a conversation. Hey, what do you do? And what I do. So we kind of built a rapport, and I asked him the question that a 52-year-old would ask. Hey, am I too old to do something like this? Because I was knocking and seeking. Cleaning all these years is tough on the body.
Were you still cleaning at this time, or had you?
Well, hands-on cleaning is still open.
Still open. Okay.
Pastor Margaret runs that. So I believe in multiple streams. It's expensive out there. So she's kind of leading that, but it just kind of led to a generic conversation as I had been seeking behind the scenes of what would it be like to go through that process. Honestly, I didn't know if I can do it at my age, and I didn't know because of some of my academic struggles of the past. That's a whole nother testimony story. He said, dude, I think you'd be great for it. And he sent me some information. To my surprise, I had to go take a test. I had to go run 1.5 miles, and I'm a terrible test taker. I'm like, there's no way Grandpa's getting
and that's
this.
the thing that when I was watching online your church,
our church, right?
Our church. That's the thing I noticed is you had that fear, right? Like physically you could do anything.
Yeah.
But it's the writing and that type of testing that you could just tell when you talked about that, even on the pulpit, your face changed.
Oh man, I mean, not to go too long of a story, but in the 5th grade, I started getting in an inappropriate relationship with one of my school teachers, and that's part of my story. That went on for 4.5, 5 years. Fast forward, she ended up doing a lot of prison time. And at the time, I was just too young and naive to realize the magnitude of how that stunted me a lot academically because the grades were covered. Small little Christian school.
Wow. What was a Christian school? I didn't know that part.
And so it was one of those things where I fought through. I was a good athlete.
Yeah.
They would fight hard at the programs to keep me on the field, but I would be lying. That was one of my massive trauma points of like I struggled with writing. I wanted to fight you a few times when you make fun of my spelling online.
Well, now you got AI, so you don't have to worry. You just chat GPT.
I tried to fix that, use that last night on Facebook. I couldn't figure that out. I'm like, honey, how does this look? So I just want to encourage the listener, man. Sometimes God actually is going to speak to you not as loud as you think. It's often going to be in the Monday thing that feels like a grind. And it feels like this is stupid or insignificant, and all of a sudden things will start slowly unfolding to it.
Yeah.
How does my question would be how does the congregation, how do the parishioners react to knowing, oh, okay, so the man of God who we are sitting under is, well, let me ask it this way. Is there anybody, have you felt anybody say, man, like, what are you doing? Like that, you shouldn't be doing that. Like that's, you're a pastor, or like you have another business. Like, has there been any pushback?
I think initially out of wanting to be protective, and let's be honest, guys, I'm 53. This is a pretty silly thing to do.
Well, most people get into it in their early 20s.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's something you
guys, I
might go to college, you might not, and you jump into it.
I was the grandpa. I think the next guy next to me might have been 13 years younger than me in our particular class. So I was the grandpa of the group. They called me grandpa. But to your question, yeah, there was a few only out of love and protection. But I think if you fast forward what the Lord is continuing to do, and I'm sure they're getting tired of some of the stories, and I phrase it this way to the community: I'm on a missions trip right now because I'll be honest with you, because of my company and the success we've had, it's not that much of economics compared to what I'm used to. It's a real step down. So I'm not trying to diminish what they make, but this is a odd job, an odd audience, and I'm kind of going there, as goofy as it sounds. Lord, you said that we are the salt of the earth and the light of the world, and I'm actually just trying to come alive again to my calling, my purpose, a rebirth, if you will.
Right.
Sometimes I think, for honest, we become stagnant. Ministry becomes familiar. We can do it without the Holy Spirit. We can write some sermons and sing a few songs, but is it life-giving? Is it transformative? And I've just kind of needed an awakening to see humanity where honestly, from the world's perspective, they're outcast, and
Truth.
and they're unrepairable,
Mm-hmm.
and it's such a weird tension because, you know, the first night I was put in a PC unit, I'm dealing with some of my own demons in my past.
PC.
It's protective
custody.
custody. And I'm dealing with some of my own hurts in my own past, but I'm also seeing how, God, you love each and every one of these people.
That's the hard part right there.
Wow.
And the reason why I asked that question was this, because I'm not trying to steer this politically, but I know that there's some people that are on the like, even though they're believers or whatever, they're on the complete opposite side of the spectrum, and they believe. Now, I'm playing advocate here, so just hear me. Like, here you are, a white man, and you're a cop. You're no good. Like, stay out of that. Just continue. You know what I'm saying? But these are the type of like things that I have going on in my head, so I can understand. Like, because I would never think that way, but I know that there are people that do. And like, do you feel like that political climate is something that you're going to deal with, you have dealt with, and how is Holy Spirit helping you to deal with it? Or is it that's the furthest thing from your mind?
Yeah, I think the advantage I have is because of being a PK, third generation, I'm understanding the stigma from that, if you wanted to call that a profession. I already know there's a knock against me as soon as I say I'm a pastor. I'm used to that muscle. I'm not trying to prove anything to anybody, but I respectfully understand I am a man of character and I'm a man of God, and you can ask my wife if that's the case, because it doesn't really matter what I say. You can ask what my kids say. So because I know real recognizes real, I'm not having to fake the funk. I understand they're going to be bent already because of what maybe they've experienced or what the media is portraying or what society's portraying. And this is the reformation we all have to have. Yeah. Because I'm finding, and I say this to my wife, give me 2 days in a unit and I'm going to change the atmosphere.
That's it.
And that's the truth. Like
So what's that been like being in the atmosphere?
Well, again, full disclosure, I'm on a missions trip. I know I'm a law enforcement, but I'm going there as a minister of the gospel. I tell these guys I love them. I pray with these guys.
Which is something they're not expecting going in there. It's probably something they've never really seen, right?
No, I preach sermons before we go to bed. It's probably 80% at night. Hey, guys, thought of the day.
Do your higher ups have any issue with that?
Nobody said anything to me at this point. I, again, went in full. I was privileged at the graduation to give the speech, and that was a pretty prestigious moment for me.
It's huge.
And the sheriff's there, and I was bold, and even my lieutenants and sergeants introduced me as Pastor Dan. And so I've been out of the gate.
So
I've been out of the gate. I haven't put a shade on this. I'm again, because of my mindset, I'm on a missions trip. I want to see, and maybe this is a pioneering moment to encourage people. If you just go to your job, let me say it this way, and I tell my wife this, if I just go and I'm a guard, I come home really frustrated.
Yeah.
But when I beam some light and I drop some salt, I come home like, yeah, you should see what the Lord did with somebody today. God touched somebody today. It's different. It's the same job, same facility, same location, just a different posture and mindset when I go. And I think we all need to awaken to that, because just going 9 to 5 at any place sucks.
Yeah.
But if we wake up to all of us are full-time ministers of this gospel, go ye therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptize them. And you know, we gotta get some of this basics back in our Christendom. We've lost it. We gotta get it back.
That's so good. That's so good. You know, all of us have a testimony that makes all of us. That's our sermon. Everybody is a minister. That's what we minister. Everybody's testimony. And I like that. Man, like there's so many questions I have, but I don't know if I should ask them, because I'm not sure if there's going to be a repercussion on the work side.
I won't answer.
You can ask, you don't have to answer. Yeah.
So okay. So do you feel like, especially like, because you're in corrections then, so you're not like you're in actual housing
in the jail.
In the jail. Okay. So
60 to 75 guys a night. Open dorm, which I chose open dorm. I prefer open dorm.
How does your wife feel about your physical protection in an environment like that?
We pray. She prays over me every time she's home. But again, we've had to come to the place of, I'm not trying to be irresponsible, but I'm telling you, love and kindness like changes a room, man.
It does.
I'm not going in there tough guy. My speech goes like this every day. Guys, hey, welcome, Officer Hand. It's an honor to have you here in my module. This is the same repetitive thing every night. I just want to let you know how we run this module. And it's first, we run it by love. We run it by respect. We don't play the alpha, the tough guy game here. If you guys think that you're tough, you can come to Uprising MMA when you're done, and you can hug it out with Grandpa to see how tough you are. That diffuses them a little bit, right? Because I know I'm one of the older guys that go in there. So I say, listen, you're already in jail. I'm not here to punish you anymore. This is your punishment. I'm here to make sure you guys are safe. We abide by the policy, and let's have a good 12 hours. And then we just flow.
Yeah.
And my only rule is my tick is being too loud because I can't hear my radio. I want to be safe. I want to make sure my partners are safe if there's an emergency call. And my thing is you keep the volume down. You're almost going to know, as long as you guys are abiding by policy, that I'm even here. And they feel, here's the deal. Hey, thank you for treating us like men.
Well, that's respect. Yeah.
That's cool.
Thank you for treating us with respect as a human being. And I think that goes a long way. That's all we all want, right? That's what
it does. I mean, that's, I've known a lot of people that have been in jail and even prison for a long time, and they there's nothing there that's good for them, right? There's no good words. There's no, they look at them like dogs, right? When you walk in, now you're just an animal. You're worthless. And you're going to be here for 2 years, 5 years, however long you're going to be here. And then we're going to drop you off in the same place we picked you up at. And you're probably going to come back because you didn't have any type of rehab or any type of hope. So for you doing that is huge and probably bigger to them than you even know. Because one little word to somebody like that can go a long way.
Yeah, it's one little backstory that's wild. One of my best friends and coaches, Rick and Diane Beatty, they had their daughter tragically murdered a few years ago. And I was a little worried about, man, he's one of my coaches, one of my mentors. But the irony when you hear his testimony, the day that he found out his daughter was murdered, he got on his knees in the police station and he worshiped the Lord. And at that moment also forgave the person who did it because he knew who did it. And I was also a little nervous, like with Coach Rick, I call him like, hey, I'm full disclosure. This is what they call me. This is true story. One day I walk in and one of the inmates said, here comes the hope dealer.
The hope dealer. I love it.
It's dope.
I love
Not only
it.
joking.
Yeah.
And I realized at that moment, like, it's working.
Yeah.
Like, that's what the world needs, right? We need us to be hope dealers. And and so it really clicked in my spirit, like, wow, that God was speaking through this inmate. It almost caused me to start weeping because I'm like, because Lord, I just want to bring hope and light and salt and earth. And I'm not trying to sound overly spiritual. Again, I'm on a mission trip, guys. We all need this in our own personal life. We're frustrated. We become stagnant. We become irritated. And I believe it's with all my heart. It's like a river. If you're not flowing, he said it'll be like rivers flowing out of you, like living water. We will get irritated with religion. We will get irritated with mundane church services. But if we're all doing our job in the earth, things get exciting, man.
Man, you just,
I just think you're in a great place to sow a seed because you're going to change somebody's life. You may not see it immediately when it happens, but somebody who's in there right now will be like, look, I went to prison. I had this correction officer that changed my life. And now they're preaching the gospel. And maybe one day they become a correction officer to be in that same, position.
Yeah.
It's like, that's just like a clear definition of my life is the mission.
And I got to confess to you guys, because I'd be being a fraud sitting here. A month ago, a young guy named Eric walks in. I'm looking at him. He comes up. He's like, "What's up, CO?" And I said, "Dude, what are you doing here?" He said, "I told you I'd find you. I knew you were a preacher." So one night I'm sitting there on my desk and I have my coffee mug, and my daughter got me a coffee mug, and she put Gateway City Church on it. It was one of those hot ones, you know? And so in the middle of the night, some kid walks up to the desk, and he's like, CO, I know you're a preacher. Where do you pastor here in town? And I said, I really can't say, but I would really focus on this cup right here. and I'm spinning it like this. It's like 2 a.m. Fast forward, he's been baptized.
Oh, praise God.
He's been on the camera working behind the scenes. Pastor Paul's put him to work.
That's dope.
But here's my fear in sharing these stories, guys. That it sounds glamorous. I'm giving you a highlight reel.
Yeah.
And I told my wife today, honey, I don't know how long I can do this. Let me just say it this way. The same desire when I came to this city to be a full-time pastor is burning in me even more. And I'm hoping, believing the day's going to come that maybe the Lord would entrust me with enough people that I can give my day to this.
Yeah.
But if not, I'm praying that God would grant me the grace and the strength and the stamina not to be embittered with however many people may be there, and be fully passionate. Yeah. But I will say this, I think I've learned more on this missions trip than I could at any Bible school, any place. And I've gone to a lot of places around the world on missions trip, but right in my city, God has taken me on the greatest missions trip at work, serving people that the world often doesn't want to serve.
And when you do become a full-time pastor, you've learned so much more than you would have if you would have became a full-time pastor in the 90s when you first came out here.
Yeah, and I think we need to redefine that to respectfully. I know what you're saying. I'm a full-time pastor, and a full-time minister of the gospel who just happens to be a CO and a cleaning company owner, and my wife's an executive at a hospital, and that's where God's called us to take the gospel. And if God wants to switch it up, then cool.
Yeah.
But I think there is an influx of revival coming to the workplace, and it's time for all of us to rise and shine and get to work.
Man, I just like my heart goes out to, like, I didn't realize you were that, like, that you were a CO. I didn't realize that you were in, like, basically it's like county or housing, so that for transition. So longer stints, they stick around and then they get shipped out, or, you know, you got a year and a day type of thing, something like that. So
I got dudes on my module that have been there 5 years waiting for their prison.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't realize it was to that extent where you were at. Like, I mean, I feel like the society's perception of anybody that's an inmate, anybody that's considered an inmate, society's perception is they're the scum of the earth, they're bad people, they can't, like, they deserve to be where they're at. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I mean, basically the idea is, like, they're already being punished, they're inside of a place where they're at. I didn't realize where you were at because of the heart that you have and everything that I'm hearing you say right now. You see the side of the inmate that people don't see. And a lot of people just automatically, that person's a convict, so therefore they are bad. That's it. It's done. Like, we don't make mistakes. They just happen to get caught in a mistake. You feel me? And
I've said that the only difference between me and you, it's often in my speech, is you got caught and I didn't.
That's it.
Yeah.
And this is what's really, like, I'm sorry, like, it's really getting to me. Like, the idea that you're there might be one of the best things that these people, like any of the inmates, they don't know that God has placed you there for a reason, so that you can, like, help them get to a place, like, when they leave, or, hey, I want to come to the church outside of where they're at. Like, that mission field is so huge. And I feel like the church, so where you're at right now, you're in a missions field. And this is how my mind works all the time. I always play advocate.
Yeah.
The church, the physical church outside, like where we go and preach on Sundays or whatever, that has to be open and welcoming to the people that are coming from that mission field. And I feel like there's only a small handful of churches that are willing to take in the ex-convicts, the crack dealers, the drug people. Like, you need to get clean before you can come here. No, you got to come to the church broken so you can get help. And that's what your mission field is. And I don't know, man. Like, there's a lot of feelings that I have that I can't express it right now, because in my mind, I know everything that you're saying. And the fact that it's a mission field, and the fact that you pastor at a church, the people that you're ministering to there would probably feel better coming to the church outside of where they're at,
Right.
because of the Christ that you show them there. That's a huge undertaking that not a lot of Christians, I'm not going to say pastors, Christians have the fortitude spiritually to do. So I will keep you in prayer, because there's a lot that you'll be in. And I love the fact that you're you're not just a hope dealer, you're an atmosphere changer when you walk in there. You know what I'm saying? So
And if we can all get that revelation, guys,
bro,
Yeah.
I mean,
it will transform our city.
I mean, I didn't realize the extent of where you were at.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's just
And we're in the right city for it, like, I mean, the studio's downtown, so we're not far from, where you're at. And I had to change my heart and my mind a few months ago, because, I had a heart for homeless people. Like, we would do stuff randomly with, and we wouldn't put it all over social media, but
those are the best times.
yeah. And working downtown and being down here every day, I started getting bitter towards the homeless people, and started, I'm yelling at them now, or like, get out of my way, or, I had a bitterness, and God hit me pretty hard a few months ago, to where, like, same thing. It's a mission field. Like, he put me here for a reason. He put the studio here in the heart of downtown Las Vegas for a reason. And instead of looking at those people like cockroaches, talk to them, And so the lady that stole my camera, I finally found her after 3 months, and was able to have a conversation with her and get a little backstory of who she is and why she stole my camera, and what, but she was a nice lady.
Yeah.
She's on drugs. She's, drugs cause mental health issues majorly. A lot of mental health issues cause you to be out here to get on drugs. So, we see it all the time. And so I've tried to change that just in myself, of going out there talking to them, like they're walking the same streets I'm walking. I'm not better than them because I have a roof. I could lose this roof anytime, right? You say it a lot. You're one bad day away from being right out there with them. So yeah, I mean, this is Vegas, people are, there's a mission field everywhere. And that's why it always bothers me. Like, I want to change the world. I want to do all this stuff with ministry and go to other countries, which is fine. Like, it's good to have a passion to do stuff in other countries, but it's like, you're not doing anything outside of your front door.
Yeah. And I want to say, and to give a shout out to Las Vegas Metro, it is by far the hardest thing I've ever done. And to get that badge was such an honor, because of some of the hurdles that I had to overcome. So anybody, I'll say this, anybody that's a Las Vegas Metropolitan Police, part of the police department, and if they go rogue, that's not an indication on the training. It's, because I don't believe even, on May 25th, 2020, that was one bad incident with a cop making a bad decision that went bad, and it affected our country gravely. Just like all pastors, majority of pastors, guys, are doing a fantastic job. And ministers, if you listen to this, I commend you. Well done. Stay at it. The majority of the police officers are absolutely phenomenal. They love their job. They're passionate. They're absolute family. And I think the ideal for all of us is we need to really fall in love with humanity again. Yeah. Whether we like it or not, we're all brothers and sisters. We come from one family, one God, and we need to love our neighbor, and we can see the world turn around.
Well, that might be a good way to close it out right there. Appreciate you coming, man, and being able to share that. And yeah, that's a lot. So, I see some people in the comments saying, getting convicted, and we should all get convicted. If you're not getting convicted, wherever you're at, like on a regular basis, we should always be getting convicted.
Well, not to drag this out any longer, because
I mean, we can stay here all night.
Yeah,
this is good.
This is good. This is good.
I had a conversation the other night in the module with 6 black dudes about race and racism, and it was so enlightening and so educational. And it started off with, "Dude, you're a different cop, man. Like you're treating us like a human being."
But isn't it better having those conversations in real life instead of over the internet?
Well, this is at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, these dudes stay up all night so we can have conversations. Yeah. But I guess the moral of the story, I was trying to encourage the community, like, we got to stop making blanket statements. You judge me, you're a black man. You judge me based upon how I treat you.
Yes.
And I'm going to judge you based on how you treat me.
Yes.
We got to stop the stereotype across the board. Because the conversation went like this. My 2 friends growing up, Elgin and Byron, who were obviously not white dudes, to feel at 2024, there's more tension of racism than there was in the 80s. We're not to go backwards. We're further away from all the tragedy of slavery, but yet there's an indication of more hate, more tension.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or how much has media played a part in depicting a story so they can divide a nation, so they can divide a country? How much has the media portrayed in churches? Because, this guy earlier was really hitting my heart with some stuff, because we go to, again, conferences, and they tell us, even as pastors, hey, you need to create content. You need to create content. What we need to do is get with the creator.
Thank you.
And so we're constantly trying to build a name, trying to build a platform, trying to build this. And so we're building a persona that's actually just fake. It's not. How's your marriage?
Yeah.
What I love about that guy is he's more about his wife, and he's more about his children, and he's telling us who he is as a man.
Yeah.
Not about a silly song that we're gonna forget by tomorrow.
Yep.
And so we gotta stop. And Rachel's helped me a lot over the years in talking about this sort of stuff. We gotta stop just pigeonholing. You treat me based upon how I treat you.
Yeah.
Judge me. Don't. And I told these dudes, don't say all cops are bad. Now the narrative better start changing because of how you're seeing us interact.
Yeah.
So are some bad? Yeah. Are some preachers bad? Yeah. But we got to just stop this division. Understand we are in a technological warfare. And I believe the media conglomerates that are multi-billion-dollar industries to get clickbaits are doing a great job dividing us.
Yep.
And even that tragic day, as tragic as it was, they are continuing to loop it, to play it, to cause division.
Yeah.
So it's I want to make a difference.
Especially with political season
Get on
coming
in
up.
there, man.
Especially with political
Especially with political
season coming up.
Yeah, right. Cue the division.
And I would have to say, and that's an interaction with you, but like growing up black and then going in certain areas where you don't feel comfortable. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it's you, but there are situations where even me, like I had one of my family members come over one night, and he didn't know which house was mine, but he didn't want to walk up to my door and knock on the wrong door.
Right.
That's the type of mentality that we carry. I'm not saying that every person is the same way, but since we've seen it so many times, you're always on guard where other people can go walk and knock on any door like, hey, I'm lost. Like, it's cool, but that's what I'm saying, like changing the narrative.
Yeah.
I think that's the first layer is the interaction with somebody like this, but it needs to be, I guess, more like consistent. Like once they see more, then you can let your guard down. Cause I feel like I still can't let my guard down in certain areas.
Well, think about it, dude. So I'm guilty of this. I am 100% guilty of this, but it's just a sign of the times that we live in.
Yeah.
The other day, my doorbell rang and I yelled, I yelled to my wife. I was like, were you expecting somebody? She's like, no. She's like, why? I was like, our doorbell rang. And I was contemplating whether I should go down and check. And I checked myself.
It was Amazon.
I checked myself. No, there was somebody standing outside.
Right.
Gosh, a human being.
Yeah. But we have gotten to the point where the only interaction that we have is on this.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so like they can't have
when
that
I was a kid, when the
conversation.
doorbell rang, the whole family went to the door to see who was
Okay,
there.
what's going on? Come
Right.
on.
Now you guys go grab a weapon
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's crazy.
to see if it's safe.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And that's how I feel like, we joke about it, how Quan says that's my pastor. I'm always tuning in on the internet. That's the double-edged sword. Yes, we want to, my church wants to put our sermons out live on the internet. And I'm of the mind where I'm like, if we do that, then that's just another reason for them not to physically come here. You feel me? So like it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Like we want people, we do want butts in the seats, not for the sake of like having a good like
You want the human connection.
That authentic
we
fellowship.
want you here so that you can see that not all Christians are weird. We're not all like crazy cultists. We really do care about you. We want to, hey, how are you doing? I genuinely care. And you won't know that unless you're physically there seeing it in my face.
I think it's both. Knowing your pastor and our age are similar. I think we struggle with, from a healthy standpoint of selling ourselves, if you will. The truth is, tonight's reach will probably reach more people than I ever would on a Sunday morning. So it's also important for pastors to understand the times that we're in and move with the technology. So I'm even myself trying to say, hey, you know what? If there's something in me to say, help me to have the confidence to get out there, because I get a little concerned about, trying to be a salesman and am I being seen too much? But the other side of that is I'm a grandfather now, and I've been married over 30-something years. I think my wife and I have something to share to help a generation, so maybe they can learn from mentors instead of mistakes.
That's
well, and you're still a young grandfather too, so you have a lot to give.
Like I was saying this earlier before we even started. Like I thought you was like, what, really? You just early, like look like you're like maybe 40. You know what I'm saying? Maybe. And he's like, I'll take that. And I'm like,
It's water.
That's how you take care of yourself. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But like the idea is, you're right. It is a generational gap. Like it is a generation thing. And I feel like how most people misinterpret the people who are convicted, they will also misinterpret a true believer and a person who truly wants to minister the gospel, because we've had such a bad like history of like, I mean, if I said Jimmy Swaggart, I know at least two of you in here know exactly who I'm talking about, and how much of a stain that puts on pastors.
Yeah.
You feel me? So like, it goes both ways. Like the thing that really got me with what you just said is like tonight's broadcast of the Speak Life radio show, you'll probably have more reach than you would like Sunday with morning. Eyes on a Sunday morning. That kills me, man. It just does. Like, I get it. It's a sign of a time. This is where we live in, but physically joining together, like I'm getting 100% convicted because of the things that I go through at my church.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, I'm kind of here. Like, for me to do this, it's like, I really have to, God, show me. Like, you have to make me want to go here. And after tonight, I'm just like, you don't have to show me. Like, I should be wanting to be here.
Yeah, when we live with the perspective of eternity, and I'm looking in the eyes of people that sometimes I'll give a salvation call in jail that are on the way to death row. This will be their only shot. It's not with the thing, well, I hope you get out here someday and come to my church and another butt in the seat. No, this is like, do you know the hope of glory?
Like, I want you.
And are you at peace? You at peace. I want to make sure you're good before we no longer have interaction.
Wow.
So it's having to purify motives as well. In regards to are we preaching the gospel, or are we wanting people to come to our church? And I think if we can get those motives pure, let the Lord, some water, some plant, some harvest. Let the Lord plant them where He needs to do it. Just go do our job, be light and salt.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I can keep talking all night, man. I know.
No, it's good though.
This is a dope conversation.
It is
good.
Yeah.
If you don't have a church and you're in Las Vegas, come to my church.
Don't come to my church.
It is Gateway City, 3630 North Rancho Drive, Suite
That's a
112.
That is a good.
So 10 a.m. if you speak Espanol, 1 p.m. And then sometimes they do combined services.
Yeah, once a month.
If you like everything. Oh, once a month?
Yeah, last Sunday of the month.
I love it.
Do you mind if I close
missed
this in
it last
prayer,
week.
Quan?
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Father, I thank you for this ministry, and we just pray for 5'9" and his team. Lord, I pray that these airways would broaden. We prophesied, Lord, that his cords would lengthen, this ministry would lengthen. And Father, we pray for the listener tonight. I pray they be encouraged along the way. God, that you minister and touch them along the way, and that, God, you would show them the path that they should go. God, ignite a fire within this generation. God, we want to see, as goofy as it sounds, your glory hit the earth. and ignite our hearts, God. Stir our hearts with passion and draw all men unto you. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen. We didn't get the music submissions tonight, so please, we'll get to those next week for sure.
That's worth it.
Yeah,
it's
for sure.
worth it.
So hopefully you guys got a lot out of this, and we appreciate it. Follow us at Gorilla Cross on all social media. We'll be putting pre-orders up for the Speak Life shirts and hats for Joe Seif, PD,
Love y'all.
PJ, Jered Sanders. We are out. Peace.